welcome to the GameCon 2025-2026 pre-show interviews. My name is Dean.
And I'm Ethan.
And we're here with our first team, Chaos Theory. Chaos Theory, would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, thank you for having us. So I am Lauren Olivier.
My name is Ivan Ho.
I'm Rachel.
And tell us a bit about your game and tell us about your individual roles.
For sure. Which one of you would like to start? So I'm Lauren. I am the character artist, ship artist, tech artist, as well as animator for the characters. And our game is Occupational Hazards. So you are a low-level employee, a new deep space mechanic for Stellar United Systems, and your job is to go through the ship, repower all of the outer nodes, do a couple custodial duties for some extra cash if you're so inclined, and then maybe deal with something that they didn't tell you about in your job description that may or may not have fired the rest of the entire crew on the ship. But you'll come to learn that most problems become a lot less scary once you eject them off the ship in an escape pod. So, yeah.
I'm Ivan, and I'm the lead level designer, the task designer. I stand some game designer and quality assurance, and I do a bit of art.
I do the 3D environmental assets, and then as well as all of the textures.
And you are?
Oh, I'm Rachel.
Sorry about that. So yeah, Occupational Hazards is a first-person, single-player horror game that can be played either in PC or VR. And this is a project that we have continued from our second year. So in second year, it was only a PC project, and this year we wanted to kind of tackle, after a year off from the project, both finishing what we wanted to be in the game in our second year, and also converting it into a VR horror experience. So that's been kind of our major goal for this year, with the really good foundation that we have of a game from second year.
Awesome. Well, what sort of encouraged you to continue from second year instead of just coming up with a completely new idea for a game?
Our programmer worked a ton over the summer
Yes.
on it, and we just wanted to kind of get back on board with it and kind of really fledge it out into like a more proper game than we did have at least in second year. So we did a lot of work on it, and it's starting to now shape up to what we were hoping it would be at least.
Definitely. Yeah.
So yeah, on that topic, what's your favorite improvements that you've had since second year?
I would definitely say just like all of the environment, the lights, the level design, the assets, everything about it, and just even like programming wise, the monster AI, we just touched up everything. Everything you could think of. Like it's almost basically a completely new game since second year. So we are very, very proud of it.
Absolutely.
How difficult was that? Like, what sort of roadblocks did you run into while you were, trying to improve this game?
VR locomotion, for one. A couple different things. I guess all the kind of normal roadblocks that you run into for GDW, where like we have so many things we want to get into the game, and we're kind of like having now to push things to like after GameCon, which is totally normal. But I think that, like Rachel said, like we've done so much work on not only like the internals and kind of tweaking them to be what we wanted, but also like the visuals that, I don't know, I feel like it's been like relatively smooth other than the like normal things that I think a lot of GDW games run into. So,
Yeah, well, I guess on that topic, if you had a magic wand and you could add anything to the game, change a current feature or add something completely new, what would you choose to do?
Just more. Like, I wish we had time to show off in GameCon everything that we had planned. Like, we wanted to do multiplayer, we wanted to add like a ton of new tasks, we wanted to add all these different other monsters to the game, and we just didn't have time, just like with the scale that we already wanted to improve it on. So we had more time with our magic wand.
yeah.
Well, follow up on that actually, how different do you think the gameplay would be if it was multiplayer?
Very.
I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think there could be like different strategies. For example, like you could have a friend trying to bait the monster, and while the other friend tries to finish all the other tasks and power on the other nodes. You can come up with different strategies. So, and I also imagine it would be more fun because the more barrier. So yeah.
More fun, more chaotic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it would become like a sort of horror party.
Yeah, exactly.
Sacrificing your friend to get away from the monster. Be like, so long, sucker! You know, all that kind of fun
Yeah,
stuff.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, what sort of team dynamic do you guys have? Because as a first year, I've learned that, you know, communicating and working well with your team is what is really going to improve the quality of your game. How do you sort of work together to create a game like this?
I feel like because most of us at least have worked together for 3 out of the 4 years,
Yeah.
I feel like we have a very good dynamic to work on the game. I feel like just everything flows very naturally,
Yeah. I agree.
which I'm very, very happy for and thankful for. So kind of leading into the other question where we really haven't had any problems other than just basic GDW, other classes, stuff like that.
It's been nice with a small team too. Like I feel like we have enough to be able to specialize in what you want, but you also get a little taste of doing like other things that you might not normally do with a bigger team. Not that a bigger team is bad, but just like you kind of get to try a lot more because everything needs to get done and someone needs to do it.
Right.
So I feel like yeah, our team's been really smooth. Again, myself, Rachel, and David behind the camera have all worked together first, second, and now 4th year. So it's been pretty like smooth going. And Ivan is a great teammate. Like he communicates everything. There haven't been any, I don't think, bumps in that regard.
I can probably give a bit more insight about that because I'm just now joining them in 4th year. I've worked with multiple teams in the past before, and I would like to say that our team is like pretty good in terms of team dynamic because as 4th years, I feel like all of us have experienced like ups and downs within like other teams and stuff like that. And with 4th year, with us entering 4th year, I feel like we solidified what we wanted at the very beginning. And like, I think a big part about why our team works is just because like the 4 of us get along, which is like pretty important in my opinion. So with us getting along and solidifying what we wanted at the very beginning, or even before 4th year, we started to talk about it in the middle of the summer from 3rd year to 4th year. After solidifying that, like it was like pretty good from there.
Really strong vision, so that helped.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, that very insightful. You know, on that, do you each individually have something that got into the game that you're super proud of, something that you're like, this is my amazing piece of work that I'm leaving off in my final year?
I'd say for all of us, it's kind of just the whole game because again,
Yeah.
4 people.
Yeah.
But did you have anything in particular for you?
Specifically, I think, because one of the last things I worked on was the navigation room, and I'm just very proud of my progress throughout these 4 years as well, just improvement. So navigation is just the main system and everything in the chairs. I'm just really proud of, and the texturing of it as well. I was just very proud how they all came out and how they looked in the game.
And it looks really good.
It does
Like
look
I'm really
really
excited. Yeah, see. Well, that's the engine room, but nav looks phenomenal as well.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's like the monsters. Like I really love having them, and Rachel did a fantastic job of texturing them and like bringing them to life beyond just their base models. We have some fun things in store for GameCon for our booth to do with those, which I won't spoil you guys. I'll have to come to GameCon and see. But for me, I think it would be like the monsters. They feel very large and charged and scary, and it's so satisfying to see someone playing the game and then get jump scared really hard. It's so much fun.
For me, I guess it would be the emergency lights, like the red lights you see in the hallways. I think that adds a lot of immersion to the player being like scared and like trying to evacuate. And another part that I'm very happy with about our game is probably the level design, because each of the different nodes that you appear in, I was in charge of like putting all the objects together and pretty much seeing what you see.
Yeah, fleshing it out, and you did a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How difficult was it for you guys to really capture the feeling, the atmosphere that you wanted for this game, to really immerse the player?
Honestly, is it bad to say not that
I
hard?
was gonna say, like, other than some like tweaks here and there, and like really getting great feedback from playtesting, and then kind of putting that in, I think I agree.
I think from 2nd year we had like an amazing base too, just based off of like sound too and everything.
Yeah.
So it was just us improving on everything and trying to make everything more scarier as well,
Yeah.
which we kind of already had. So I don't know, yeah, it just wasn't that hard surprisingly.
That's fair.
I think the hardest part about implementing. Sorry, can you reword your question again?
Well, I was just asking like about the immersion. How difficult was it for you to capture the atmosphere that you were going for with
So
Warrior?
Yeah, I think between the three of us, it was like moderately okay because in my opinion, a lot of the horror aspects in games are based off of visuals and sounds. And I know our base project had really great sounds, so just taking that further and implementing a bit more fleshed out sounds was pretty good. And then with the lighting, the emergency lights add a bit more, depth. And also, just, not even just the emergency lights, lighting in general, that was like a pretty important part for us to like really capture and I guess
Sort of express the
The overall
yeah,
feeling.
Yeah.
sort of despairing atmosphere
Yeah.
of this empty ship.
Getting that balance between like it's dark so it's scary, but it's not so dark that you can't see anything. Like that like whisper of seeing something move in the dark and you have just enough light to see it makes it so much more scary than it's like so dark that you can't see 10 feet in front of you. So having that balance was like something that I think we struck that pretty early on.
Yeah.
So like kind of again tweaking that and like adding the emergency lights in the hallway so that like when the power's not on, that white light isn't flashing, you only have the emergency lights. So it's again not pitch black but dark enough that it's spooky. Yeah.
Very interesting. I guess to top it off, what is an insight that you guys have gained in your 4 years of experience that you'd like to share with everyone watching? That's something that's the most valuable thing, I guess, piece of wisdom you could pass off.
Having a solid team means everything. Like you can have a bajillion people in a team, but if you don't have that like communication and coordination and like just feel comfortable talking to each other, it's so much harder. And like you can have all the manpower in the world, but like being able to work together and like feel good working together and have fun means so much. At least for me.
Anything from you guys?
I think I like completely agree. I can't really think of anything else.
I would say building the courage to ask for help because I do remember in my very first, maybe first 1 and 2 years, I was like very scared to ask for help because I just didn't know how to approach other people and just ask for help for insight about things that I didn't know. For example, I'm not the like strongest programmer, so I do remember like being very bad at programming when I first started. But after asking for help and building the courage to actually ask for help, it did help a lot. So yeah, I would say just learning to ask for help when you need it.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty good advice for me also as a programmer who's just beginning. I think that's something I need to look into for sure. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Chaos Theory, for your time today, and we hope to see you guys at GameCon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're back. Once again, I'm Dean,
And I'm Ethan.
and we're here with Soar-based studios from first year.
So what inspired the gameplay? Like why did you choose a puzzle game and this type of puzzle game?
So we wanted the game to be somewhat similar to like what you'd see in a normal puzzle game, but with a little bit of a twist to where you're kind of a little bit of a helpless creature that can't really do anything but puzzles, and the world around you is trying to stop you from doing this. So in the first world here, you don't really have much opposition, but in the other worlds, one of them that we have finished, World 3, there are a bunch of different things trying to stop you. Like in World 3, there's this creature that we call the Mimic that is possessing the cave that you're in and activating traps around you to try and stop you from doing these puzzles and stop you from progressing through the cave.
Interesting.
The game is a very interesting and funny name. Would you care to explain? I can't even pronounce it.
So the name that we came up with, Gelato Gustavo and the Treasure of El Dorado, is somewhat inspired by Indiana Jones and like its naming conventions, because we wanted the character to be some sort of like adventurer who's journeying through this place to find this lost treasure. The treasure is just his hat. He's just a goofy little slime trying to go through all this danger and effort just to try and find his hat, which he lost in the wind. Just like kind of a play on the genre. But yeah, we wanted to kind of feel like an Indiana Jones type adventure where he's going through all these different locations, doing all of these different things, and just, yes, we wanted to reflect that in the name as well, kind of with our naming scheme.
It's pretty interesting. Have you guys had any troubles while working on this game? I mean, I'm sure you've run into troubles, but can you explain those to us a little bit?
On the programming side especially, we've had a bunch of different issues. One of them is just like trying to figure out, like as first years, it's kind of hard to figure out our scope, especially with trying to figure out how long things will take to do. Like some things that we've done have taken a lot longer than we thought, and some things that we thought would take a lot longer didn't take any time at all. Like, for example, the box that you see being pushed around a lot is, like the pushing part was pretty easy, but pulling it was actually pretty difficult to do. It took multiple iterations to actually get working, and was a bit of a pain in the butt to actually fix. And meanwhile, one bug that we encountered was one where if you took damage before entering the next level, then you would become invincible, which we thought was going to take forever to fix, and like it would not be an easy solution, but it was just one line of code, and that's it. So yeah, that's one of the issues that we were really struggling with, but I think we've been able to overcome it pretty well.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. I've had some very similar issues when making my game, but I'm glad you've resolved them.
Perseverance is very important.
Absolutely.
You know, on that topic, since as first years, I'm under the assumption you've never made a game like this before. What was the most enjoyable parts about it?
Honestly, as a team, it was really nice for all of us to see like everyone else contributing to make something real, you know? It was nice to see everyone bringing their own skill set, their own experience, expertise, their own ideas, everything to the table, and combining it, working together to make something that is real, you know? It's kind of intimidating, especially in the modern day, to create. And to know that with so little experience, we were able to make something that's playable and interactable and in depth. There's like, just seeing it all come together like that was probably one of the best parts. The ideation phase honestly was really fun as well. There were so many ideas that we threw out during our meetings and our discussions when we probably should have been sleeping instead. That like some of our ideas that we just randomly came up with because they were fun ended up completely changing the way that we designed our game. A lot of our core mechanics were not in the first discussion, right? And we had a lot of fun figuring out how we wanted to work those in with our ideas, right? And again, getting those ideas and making them real was the best part of all of that.
And I agree, like my favorite part personally was just being able to work together as a team. Like I love our group so much, just because we're all able to be productive and we actually feel like we want to get stuff done.
Yeah, like as the group manager, my job is to make sure people are on task, getting things done, right? Of course, I'm trying to contribute as well, but my main goal is to make sure things are flowing smoothly, right? And while I do have to work to do that, there was never a point where I felt like I had to hound people to get things done. I never had to say, get up and do things, right? I felt so much passion and willingness and excitement to work and learn with everyone in my group. So like it was just like he said, like Rob said, there was so much passion, and seeing it all come together, right, was phenomenal.
It's very sweet. Group synergy is very important. I'm glad you found that immediately.
Yeah, that's very good to hear.
So I guess you've had a lot of experience like with doing this. Are there any takeaways you have that you know now that you would, if you could go back to the beginning of your first semester, would you use any of these takeaways?
Like lessons learned from building the game?
Yes.
Yeah, one of the main things that we ran into was it was really hard for us to, like as Rob said, it was really hard for us to predict exactly how much energy was going to go into things, right? So, for example, certain features took a lot more to program, bug fix, test. Certain ideas were phenomenal and we loved them, we got attached to them, but they just weren't feasible with the time frame that we had, with the resources. We don't have a budget, so we can't hire people, etc., right? So, as painful as it is, probably learning to respect and understand limits a little earlier because from the start, we knew that we weren't going to be able to implement every idea we had. There were always things on the chopping block, and while it didn't end up becoming a huge issue with this game, I could totally see like why it would be useful to know that earlier, that you're not going to be able to get everything in, right? Now, that said, I honestly am really happy with what we do have here.
Was there anything you learned from like your peers or upperclassmen that sort of helped with the development of this game, or was it just your team entirely?
Well, I do feel like we had a lot of like very influential help from some of our peers. Just like, especially with playtesting, like we had a lot of people who we were just like hanging out with as friends who just want to come to our meetings and play test. Like one person in particular, just like we had to ban them from playing our game because they kept finding bugs, and we wanted to focus on making sure everything like was implemented before we started bug fixing.
Yeah, I know exactly who Rob's referring to. There were people who were so eager to play test their game that they would want to attend every meeting, and sometimes it got to the point where we did have to just say, hey, not this week, because we need to get the meeting done, not find 17 more hitbox bugs because you ran at the block at 13.5 degrees northwest and at exactly this speed while getting hit by an arrow. Like,
Sounds like suffering from success. Going back to the takeaway stuff, how will you take these takeaways going into your second year?
With Gelato Gustavo and the Treasure of El Dorado, surprised I got that, admittedly a big part of, I wouldn't say it was a huge hurdle, but a big part of something that we had to deal with, like a big part of the issues that we ran into while building the game, was just from the fact that we are a very ambitious team, and while we are all incredibly skilled, talented individuals, right, we can also only do so much. We were able to get the majority of our super important ideas in, but just like our scope was really big, and we realistically probably shouldn't have been able to get as much work done as we did. So just being able to start a little smaller and build on things rather than letting the ideas get so big, probably would have been one of the smarter ways for us to handle that.
Yeah. Our core idea for the game was to have 4 unique worlds that each had their own like different unique sections. Like our second world was going to have a snake that was chasing you around, and the 4th and final world was going to have a creature that always knew where you were and was always attacking, so you had to speed through each room getting stuff done. But we're still going to do these, but during the summer to try and work on the full release. But we figured it would be best to just focus on these 2 worlds that we have done and make sure that we leave them in a nice polished state that works and that we're proud of.
It's very
That's
smart.
good to hear. So I guess then you have plans to keep on working on this in the future. Do you think you're going to bring it to future years, or is this just a summer project?
I
Maybe.
think maybe
We've,
it all
okay,
depends.
we do have some plans for this specific game, which involve finishing it up, getting all 4 of the worlds, we're calling them worlds, they're like areas, getting all 4 of the worlds finished, getting all of our ideas that we want and are like 100% dead set on, our core ideas, right? That we decided, because again, we were only able to focus on 2 parts of the game for this, but there were 2 others that we weren't able to get in for this because we wanted to provide something that we would be happy with, that was polished. Getting the other 2 sections in, something we wanted to get done over the summer, and then after that, we did have talks of reusing the character for a few different ideas actually, which we won't say the details of because we might want to surprise you guys with that later.
But the character is very versatile, and I wouldn't mind revisiting it. But yeah, honestly, I'm just excited to see where future years take us. Like, we have this in our back pocket now that we can use whenever we think it would be right.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see what you guys do with this, honestly, because it looks really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess, what is the favorite part of your game, actually?
Do you want to go first? Or?
Honestly, I think that my favorite part of this game is probably the 3rd world. The next one that hasn't been shown off yet, the Crystal Caves. Just some of the mechanics are more of, oh no.
Oh, that's a new
Oh,
bug.
Well, more to work on.
Well, time to sell
Yeah.
Crystal.
Honestly, we'd rather someone breaks our game now so we can fix it before it compounds.
For
Yeah.
sure.
But sorry, you were saying?
Yes. Just some of the different puzzles that we have in this world in particular, I feel are really unique and just like the first world is kind of getting you introduced to the game, and this one actually really lets it shine. Like I really like the mechanics we introduced and just the way that they're used, and just the environment as well. It's just so pretty and I love it. It's really nice.
I'm also really a big fan of the just how like every part of the world feels like it's got something to offer, right? Like every room, and this is a big props to Rob specifically. Every room feels like, when I was playing it, every room felt like it had a purpose, right? Every room when I was going through it, it felt intentional. And so when I'm playing as my silly little guy, I can feel confident knowing I'm gonna get him where he needs to go. And I'm gonna be able to do it like relatively efficiently. I don't feel like I'm wasting time, you know? Like during our development, we actually had a lot of times where we wanted to adjust things like movement speed so that it would feel better for the player, right? So we fine-tuned things like room layouts, like player movement, so that they would feel better, so you could get your little guy where he needed to go, you know, faster.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Sorbet Studios. Check out Gustavo
Gelato Gustavo
and the
Thank you.
Treasure of El Dorado.
at
Gelato
GameCon,
Dorado.
April 10th. Well, by the time they see this, GameCon already happened, but thank you very much for
Thank you
your
for
time.
attending.
Thank you so
GameCon.
much for having us here.
No problem. And
course.
we're looking forward to seeing your game.
Of course.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
sure.
so much.
Hello everyone, we are back. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Dean, and we're with Quantum Nexus Games, a third-year group. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves, please?
Of course, my name is Bilal. I am the shader developer and the sound developer.
Hi, my name is Kishan. I'm the 3D artist and animator.
Hi, I'm Omid. I'm the Unity developer and the audio engineer.
Awesome. Tell us a bit about your game.
So our game 9 to 5 is a cleaning simulator where you play as a janitor and inside a school. It works the 9 to 5 and you gotta clean up a variety of messes inside the school.
Alright, that's very interesting. What sort of inspired you guys to make this game?
So to make this game, what inspired us was Power Wash Simulator. So that was the biggest reference for us. And yeah.
And to add on that, the grading scheme was, I don't remember exactly, but if you don't have a fighting game, then you get more points. So we're like, okay, let's use that restriction and build upon that. So that's how we kind of got to a cleaning simulator, because there's no violence.
That's interesting. Constraints are the best way to innovate. Speaking of innovation, how do you think you innovated with this game specifically?
So we had a lot of 3D assets and we were kind of trying to figure out what to do with them. So we decided to create a bunch of different mini games that you play around the school, which made the setting more appropriate. And for example, we have a cafeteria mini game where there's a food fight and we use a different kind of mess prefabs and the principal to kind of guide the player on what to do. There's also a plunger mini game where you have to plunge a mess in the bathroom, and it's led by UI-driven actions. So you have to try to hold the plunger down as you try to complete it. And if you're able to hold down with the pressure pushing up at the same time, then you win the minigame. And we try to make it intuitive a bit by adding a PA speaker system that kind of announces the missions, like what the janitor has to do to make it feel more like an ambient sound for the objectives.
And in the beginning, we were thinking about, oh, where could this cleaning take place? So at first we were thinking about like an office, but then we're like, how could we make it like more fun to play and like add like funny moments in there? And we're like, okay, a school, you know, you got a food fight, right? Food fights happen in schools. You got all type of kids making messes, and like the bathroom scene, that often happens at schools.
Very appropriate theme.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like what sort of was the ideation process for these minis? Like how did you guys come up with these?
So we first thought of like what type of shenanigans would happen in school and like what you would see it like every day. So yeah, of course, like the toilet being overflowed and stuff like that would be one thing that happens in school. And yeah, trash all over the place, and like everyone mentioned, food fight.
And even drawing from like our own experiences in our own life, right? Like, a really funny story happened with me in the bathroom, right, where a lot of shenanigans happened. I won't get too detailed, but just like that. And the funny thing was, at that point, it was an Easter egg, but then we liked it so much, we developed it into a mini game. So just having that like kind of natural progression into making the game even better.
That's very interesting.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
curious, being in your third year, how have you used the learnings and takeaways from your first and second year to make this game better?
So first thing is we compiled all of the feedback we got from like all years, and we decided to make it more simple. We decided to make it more quality over quantity, and we made sure like there are like no problems whatsoever while we were developing and making this game.
Yeah, and especially in our first year, we had a lot of trouble. We tried to make a fighting game, and a big component was it was very laggy, it was very unintuitive. So just like having that really rough start kind of pushed us on the path, okay, let's refine the core mechanics, let's make it better, let's make it easier for the player to understand, and let's make it simpler. And then it truly is, less is more. And then, so that was for first year. And then in second year, we really refined the core mechanics. It was a shooting game, and it was really well. And then now we're like, okay, with the no violence game, we added upon that and it make it even better. So it's like every single year, we're learning and we're improving.
Yeah, for sure, refinement is very important. But what kind of troubles did you guys have when you were making this game specifically?
So the number one trouble we had was actually after the game was built. We noticed there was a couple of issues as when we built the game in Unity. It was different from how we played it in the editor. So we had to go back and fix a couple of bugs, and we're currently still working on that. So to make sure that everything runs smoothly.
And originally we had 6 members, but due to an extreme circumstance, we lost one of our members. So just having that one programmer removed, we had to lower our scope, really focus on what we want, to cut out some things, which was at first pretty difficult, but we managed.
Very interesting. Yeah, speaking of your members, something I've noticed over the years, Quantum Nexus games, you take a lot of pride. You have the hats on.
Exactly, we got the.
You guys take a lot of pride in that group name, that team name, and all that stuff. Is there anything like as to why, what you think about group synergy and just your team in general?
Yeah, like even from like first year, we like the core members have stayed together, and I think that we just each one of us brings something to the table, and we just are so used to each other, and also like we are very like similar in the sense that we're very focused. Like everyone has something to bring, so because of that, we just get along so much more easier. And yes, we have more members, but because of our group energy, like they can easily assimilate.
It's like group chemistry.
Exactly, the group chemistry.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, how did your group start? Like, how did you come up with the name? How did you guys meet each other? Just
Well, so okay, it was really crazy because I knew this one guy from middle school, and he was in game development, and he knew this other guy at his high school, and that's how me and Elisha originally met. And then me and Keishan, we literally sat in first year, and our professor, Megan Adams, she was like literally like, look to the person beside you and talk to them. And I was right beside this guy. So we were just like talking, and then we have so much in common. You know, we both grew up in Scarborough, and just having that connection is just like, it was so like random. It just worked.
That's funny. I also grew up in Scarborough.
Yeah, it was so.
So yeah, how do you think that team synergy has contributed to your game's quality in all your years?
Well, I guess it's just the group synergy is like we show up for ourselves and we show up for others, right? aspect of the game is interconnected, right? The sounds affect the gameplay is affected by the coding. So everything is in tune, and we know that if we show up for everybody, then we're the ones that get like the benefits.
Yeah, and you mentioned you guys made, you know, was it a shooter in second
Yeah,
year?
it's shooter,
And then
shooter,
the previous
yeah.
year was a fighting game.
Exactly.
And now it's a cleaning
Exactly.
simulator.
Yeah, so it's like the switch up.
A lot of switch ups. Do you think you guys are gonna stick with this next year, or are you making something completely new?
Definitely, we're definitely sticking with this plan because we want to try something new every time. Right? Like the more new things we do, that's how we learn. That's how we find new ways in game development. So learning these different genres and games, developing them will really help us in like the overall.
Oh, for sure, that makes a lot of sense. And for me as a first year, I think that's pretty important advice, to be honest, because
100%.
you know, learning through experience and just trying a bunch of different things is definitely important. So, thank you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You know, speaking of, is there a particular genre you found yourself sticking with that you're like, I really like cleaning games, I really like shooting, anything you particularly enjoy the most?
Only, I'd say simulators. Simulator are the most fun because it's like kind of has a cozy vibe, and people enjoy playing it very much.
Exactly. And I feel like with like cozy games, right? It's like because it's less competitive, people are going to be more relaxed while playing it. They won't be as like they won't feel as intense as playing it. Because once you get like all the like with fighter games, there's like so much happening, people can get overstimulated.
Yeah, like you can start like raging at it.
Exactly, like the raging, or you can't beat this boss, you start you rage quit or something like that. Just to like take a step back, I think it's pretty good. Like take a step back, be like, okay, this is what games can be like. You know, it doesn't have to be all
That's true. So do you think you're gonna make another cozier game next year?
I think for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. We will, yeah.
So like,
Stay tuned.
Yeah, you gotta stay tuned for that.
Any ideas right now?
not right now. You know, right now we're just trying to prepare for upcoming events.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But definitely during the summer, we're gonna, you know, do some ideation and feel like, okay, what have we like haven't hit yet? So we got fighting, we got shooting, we got cleaning. What's like one area that we want to explore?
Awesome.
What are you looking forward to for the upcoming GameCon?
Honestly, just to see how people react to our game, right? Because at the end of the day, why are we here? We're here to make games for the gamers, for the players, right? And just to build experiences, you know, see what sticks, see what doesn't stick. You know, our game last year, it was pretty successful because you know, there wasn't any bugs. You know, there was a bug, but it was very like well hidden. But just like seeing the build quality improve, that's like one of the best things.
Awesome.
Do you have anything else to add?
Nothing much. Yeah.
Alright, well, just to sort of wrap us up here,
Right.
how are you guys going to take the experience of this game, knowing that you want to make a cozier game next year? How are you going to take, you know, the fundamentals of this game and apply it to the next year?
So we'll probably add like small like mini games like this, like for our game. Definitely like sets the more relaxed atmosphere when playing the game. Definitely aesthetics of the game would be a huge part in making it, because like you want to make sure that like visually it looks more relaxed than like being heavily detailed and like too much like eye-catching and stuff, you know?
To your face, for sure.
Yeah.
And like, especially like to focus on the mini games part, I feel like when we showcase this at GameCon, a lot of people are gonna like the mini games. You know, like having the toilet one, having the food fight, you know, banana peel, mops. So definitely for the next year game, we gotta add a lot of mini games.
Alright.
And then I'm curious, finally, where do you think the future of Quantum Nexus games will go?
In the future, probably a big like studio.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Start up as an indie, you know, and then just keep on re-innovating ourselves, you know, grow the team, grow our knowledge, you know, just to expand our horizons.
What do you think the identity of Quantum Nexus games would be? What separates you? What differentiates you?
I guess it's just
I guess like being your own would be the identity. So like being your own person, being your own talent, being yourself would be the identity of Quantum Nexus.
exactly like bringing things to the table,
Yeah.
like to improve.
Like showing off your special talents, you know, things you could do to basically just like evolve your game and evolve the development
As an individual.
as an individual.
Yeah, really pump it to the next level.
That's very sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very interested, and well, you guys check out 9 to 5 at GameCon. But thank you very much, Quantum Nexus Games, for this interview.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Excited to see where you guys go.
Yeah.
We're excited.
Awesome. Check them out on GameCon.ca, guys.
We're back again. Hello, I am Ethan.
And I'm Dean, and we're here with Platypus Games, a second-year team. Would you like to introduce yourselves, guys?
Of course. My name is Connor McCarthy. I'm the project manager and lead game designer on Platypus Games.
And I'm Carter Ng, and I'm the lead level designer on Platypus Games.
Awesome. Tell us a bit about your game.
So, Platypus is a 3D multiplayer first-person game where players will battle it out in a chaotic and fun experience where they take control of a platypus and must collect cards around the arena and shoot them at the opponents. Now, you can also parry these objects back at the other platypuses, which will create the chaotic and fun environment that we were going for with our game. The objective being to be the last platypus standing to win. So we can get started here just on the screen up here. So the way our multiplayer has worked is that we decided to go with an online multiplayer, so that way not only in a GameCon setting we can have players just join locally, but also later if they want to check out our game, they have the option and play with friends online. So we're able to host a room with a room code on the screen, which allows people just to join. You can just put this in Discord chat or just communicate if you're in the same room. And then once people have entered the room code, you should be able to see that you have all players in there synced up with not much latency issues. And then by pressing E, we're able to start the game. And then from there, they'll be able to battle it out, have a lot of fun, have some good laughs. And then just when the game's done, the lobby resets and they can do it all over again.
Interesting. I'm very interested in the theming of your game. Why did you choose platypus?
Oh boy.
Very
Platypi.
strange. Platypi.
So we decided to actually go with platypus. Just for some reason, we made a sketch in just one of the lab spaces of just a really silly looking platypus, and we're like, yep, that's our game. That's the one thing we're using. Also, when we were kind of discussing the general art style and kind of the theme for the game, we didn't really originally have much going on until we started getting really silly, I guess. I guess just because our dynamic as a team is just very more of that of just we're a bunch of friends, so we don't really see each other as coworkers, which allows us to just mess around and just come up with some goofy ideas. Yet that allows us to come up with some ideas that end up working out, like the platypus idea. So as you can see on the screen, they're able to pair the objects back and forth by collecting cards as well. And again, you can parry multiple objects back and forth, which again creates this chaotic environment, which will allow people to have a lot of exciting moments within their game.
That is so interesting. I have to ask, where do you get sources of inspiration for platypi?
The internet, I guess. Well, we just wanted, like Connor said earlier, we wanted a goofy character. We wanted and a lot of platypus, they're kind of funky animals. They got their tails, their beaks, and they're still mammals. But they lay eggs, you know. As you saw earlier on the menu screen, where we had a little fun fact, hey, we were the only mammals that lay eggs. And we just thought, yeah, it fits the kind of goofy aesthetic, and that's what we wanted to go for.
Awesome. So what sort of inspired this game, besides the platypus lore?
So I believe for that there was a lot of games, I believe, out there that didn't really have this type of system. But an inspiration, at least for me, in terms of when we started doing ideation for the game, was a game called Friends vs. Friends. I'm not sure if you've heard about it. But it's essentially the same type of concept, like a first-person type game, able to join up with friends, online multiplayer. The only difference was how it was similar to the way the cards worked. However, for them, their cards worked. Each card did something. For example, giving you more health, changing your weapon, giving you a slight buff, nerfing the other team, something like that. However, for us, just to create a vertical slice that was still doable within the time that we had, we decided to make it just silly objects, I guess, just to make it just a silly game, but also having the ability just to make sure that we're technically sound, but also giving us enough time to make these things.
That's interesting, yeah. So, what mechanics do you have in your game that you're really proud of that you think you really innovated with?
Well, we obviously have our parry is probably like the bread and butter of the whole game. As you can see on the screen right here, they can shoot the cards at each other and then parry any projectiles that the cards make back at the sender. And also, basically, it's shown up multiple times, but whenever they successfully parry an attack, they'll gain a little bit of shield, which is like an extra bonus, so there's an incentive to keep parrying. Obviously, health drops down to 0, you're dead, you're out of the game, but with the shield you can stay alive. With the health not regenerating, but the shield will, assuming you parry.
So why did you choose to do a multiplayer game specifically? Why not make it solo player, like playing against an AI? Maybe why multiplayer?
So when it came to deciding whether multiplayer or single player, that was kind of a debate between our team. Is like, what do we want to do? Do we want to like keep it simple, or do we want to challenge ourselves in some ways? Because multiplayer, in terms of like locally within the same like system, we've done before in like the lab and stuff. However, online multiplayer was something that we were sort of interested in, also not knowing a lot about. So when it came to that, it was like, do we want to challenge ourselves? And then we came up with all these ideas for the game, to the point where we're like, okay, let's give this a shot, see if it sticks, and if not, then we know, okay, that we just take that as a learning experience. But in terms of doing the multiplayer, I think we're all very proud of what we've done in terms of the work we're able to produce, especially for the server stuff. That stuff was not fun to deal with.
Lots of bugs.
Lots of bugs.
How do you guys think you've developed as developers compared to your first year?
So I believe in terms of like developing as developers, I think we've been able to handle stress a lot better than before compared to year one. Year one was very like rigid schedule, but also we were just getting started with game development, so we weren't sure what was going to be like, how it was going to be in terms of like actually developing the game, how much time we would have, that sort of thing. With year two, we can both kind of say that it's a lot more flexible in terms of like course schedule, so we're able to have ourselves more time, but also plan accordingly just in case we do run out of time, because we know now what it's like to be short on time, especially from year one. Just because with year one, we only had a few months to like kind of make our game, but now with this we have we started back in like September and working up till now, so we've been able to have that chance to actually actively plan ahead, plan for any roadblockers that might get in the way. How do we adapt? How do we adjust, essentially? So I think to answer your question, how we developed as developers is just being able to manage, I guess, time and stress a lot better.
That's very important. And follow up to that is, what are you the most proud of yourself for being able to accomplish?
Well, pulling out the multiplayer, because that's kind of the biggest one. The day we learned that we could just we figured out the code, putting in the room code, and then being able to join the host. We all were really excited about that, because that's obviously like the main part. But yeah, multiplayer is our main selling point, so we want to make sure that's stable and ready for GameCon.
You mentioned having some issues with it earlier.
Yeah.
Some bugs that you ran into. What was the process of dealing with those like?
So the process was very like long and like, I guess like not fun, an easy way to say it. Because originally we started trying to play with different like multiplayer ideas in terms of different ways of creating rooms and stuff in such different ways. Once we found the room, we ended up running into this recurring bug where if we made a mechanic, for example, the card system or shooting, if we made that, it would only be for whoever hosts the room, but not for the client players. So we would have to adjust and add that for the clients, and it was kind of this back and forth issue where it was just only working for the host, then we got to make it work for the players. But then if we added something else or tweaked something, it could possibly set back other stuff going on in the server, where those problems recurred. But in terms of actively connecting to a room, once we got over the hurdle of that, things did become easier, but still they were very tough to manage at some points.
Nice. And just a quick follow-up to that. In terms of gameplay for the actual game and like mechanics? Were there any bugs or issues that you faced with that, like the parry mechanic or any of that stuff?
Yeah, for the parry specifically, there were times at which obviously the clients couldn't parry. However, we were finding issues in which the parry was just slightly late, so someone would get possibly hit by an ump or try to parry it. It would register as like a hit to the actual parry, so it would take away health or shield, but then the parry would happen afterwards. So we had to make sure that timing with the parry was proper, and also, what's that word, I guess? I don't know, but essentially just making sure that the parry was timed correctly to what the player was doing, so that way they weren't getting hit when really they weren't.
That's a good idea. That makes sense.
To add on to that, hypothetically, if you had more time, you had the ability to change anything you'd want in your game, would you do so, or are you happy with the product?
Originally, we wanted to add like the cards would do more than just attack. Like there could be some defensive cards. So if we had more time, that'd probably be. I think we'd look at like maybe gaining shield, gaining health, getting like a block that like it takes one shot or something, and then you take no damage. Anything kind of like that. Something basically more cards, more diversity in the cards and how they function.
I think another thing we would add is possibly like some emotes, possibly, just because I remember making the animations for that, and my teammates were able to give me some good ideas for in terms of emotes. We did actually implement one. It was I can't believe I'm gonna say this during the review. It was a twerk, which by pressing T they're able to do that by just pressing the twerk button. So yeah, they're able to like just be able to do that. And when we originally did it, we were like, yeah, I guess that works. So, but in terms of that, that's the only one we added. But if we had more time, I think we would add more possibly to add some varieties possibly, and just make it the game more silly than it already is.
For sure. And sort of like, how do you think you're going to take the experience of this game and use it in the future? Like, do you think you're going to continue with this sort of multiplayer party game idea, or are you going to try something new?
So for that, it will always be something that I think we keep in our back pocket. Just now knowing that we know how to do this, we know the issues with it, like the pros and cons of making a multiplayer game in general, from programming side to game design side, art-wise, everything. We know the pros and cons now, so we can always keep that in our back pocket just in case we want to make a multiplayer game again. We can, but then we can make it different from Platypary, where it's unique in its own way. So different mechanics, different art style, different design philosophies regarding that. So I think maybe we do maybe make a multiplayer game in the future, but that's just up for future debate possibly within our team.
We're always open to the challenge of new ideas and everything. Like this was a new idea for us. So.
Yeah, I really like the way you guys kind of approach things. It's very bold, and you guys took a major leap this time. How do you think, it seems like you have a very, like, you're really into the silly design philosophy. How do you think that benefits your own design philosophy and your game?
At least for my design philosophy, it's to make people, when they play our games, or the games possibly that I'll make in the future, have a smile on their face, or at least make them have fun in some ways. I always liked seeing people, when we were doing playtesting, I always saw bright smiles on their face, on the players' faces when they're playing our games. They're generally having fun, they're feeling real emotions. If we can keep with that silly theme, or at least try to keep making games that are very fun and brings people to have smiles on their face and make them feel good when they're playing it, I think we can succeed not only as individual developers, but also as a team, collectively.
So, do you think the Platypary universe is going to keep going, or are we moving on to bigger things now?
Possibly I might add in as like maybe at least our platypus model as like maybe Easter eggs and maybe later games that we possibly make. However, I do think we need to possibly branch out and tackle different ideas, or maybe taking in maybe some more risk of like maybe different genres of games that we're maybe unfamiliar with. Maybe tackle some things that might be tougher to make on one side but easier to make on another side of like the whole game development like sphere, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's really interesting. And then to top it off, each of you guys, if you could go back in time and visit your first year self as you were just entering the program, what would you tell them?
Yeah. It's if I had to tell myself something from year one is probably, I think I would say like keep calm, keep going, you're gonna get through this. Because year one I remember stressing out, especially with crunch time at some points. So I tell myself things are gonna be tough, things are gonna get like, you're gonna have your highs, you're gonna have your lows. But you're always gonna reach that finish line, no matter what the result is. It may not be your best work, but at least you tried your best. And that's what I think is very important to tell myself if I could go back.
If I could go back, I'd probably tell myself to like not be afraid to ask for help, because everyone here is part of game dev. I can ask my own classmates, my own team members, even higher years, even lower years might know anything. But basically, we're all here to help each other. We're all here to learn and to grow as game developers, and I think I shouldn't be afraid of asking for help.
Those are very sweet answers. I love those answers. Well, thank you very much for your interview today. Check out Platypus' second year game on GameCon.ca, and we're super looking forward to seeing your game.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
And we're back again. Once again, I am Dean,
And I'm Ethan.
and we're here with second year team Slice of Life Studios. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves and your roles?
I'm Ethan McNally. I'm the project manager, one of the main programmers, and also the designer for the game, which is level designer.
I'm Anson Lim, and I do basically combat design, some programming, and also like some audio design for the game.
Fantastic. Tell us a bit about your game.
So basically our game, just give a quick summary, it's just like 3D action adventure game. You like do puzzle solving, you slash away through enemies, and the main mechanic of the game is being able to slow down time, which is used to solve the stuff above, like you mentioned, like puzzle solving, enemies, combat, all that stuff.
Awesome. What sort of inspiration did you guys have for this game?
Well, the obvious one is Okami, of course. But that's like that's not the only inspiration we had. We also took from other stuff. Like personally I took when like designing some of the areas with like Metro games, like the secrets and stuff, the structure of the game is very close to Zelda, like it's very area by area structure. So mostly other 3D games that kind of play similar what I took inspiration from. Did you take inspiration for the combat?
Combat?
Yeah.
I guess partly from Final Fantasy 16 or even like... Originally I would say Devil May Cry, but there's no aerial combat because we don't have time to put that in. But that's the inspiration. But back when we were in like planning phase, I once thought of like mecha yokais with like Kamen Rider W and inserting USBs, but that didn't happen.
He loves them like this.
Awesome. That is some fantastic inspiration. I find your main mechanic, your time stuff, super interesting, and there's just like endless possibilities with that. One, did you have any specific inspirations for that type of mechanic? And two, how did you innovate and use that mechanic to the fullest?
For inspirations for the time slow mechanic, I think the main one was just not as like a specific inspiration, but I've just seen a lot of games have like time slow for like a one like level gimmick, or maybe a time slow mechanic for the whole game, but very, very limited, but what it actually slows down. And I just wanted to take those concepts and apply it to like a full game, like expand it for like a combat or puzzle solving, like really get the most out of what this mechanic can do. And for like how we used it, so with combat, the time slow, like the default one basically, that doesn't slow down enemies because that would be really overpowered if we could just slow down enemies at any time. So what we did is we implemented a meter system with like, you know, when you hit enemies, it charges up, and once you use it called Shadow Assassin, that slows down enemies for a short amount of time, which also does extra damage because we want to integrate it in the actual combat this time, unlike our last game where our main gimmick didn't really have anything to do with the combat. And in terms of puzzle solving, we focused on moving like certain objects around, like the speed at which a player can reasonably like interact with an object, just to get the most mileage out of it.
Awesome. Why did you think a time slow mechanic was the right fit for this type of game?
Because, kind of going back to something you mentioned earlier, like time slow is a very versatile mechanic that can apply to both combat and puzzle solving, which is what we knew we wanted to do from the outset.
It was like pretty quick, like he pitched the idea, then we all immediately say yes because it was interesting enough that we think that we could work with it.
Yeah, time slow was actually pretty much the main thing we figured out from the outset, and then we decided like the theme and the mechanics of the game later.
That's pretty cool that everyone was on board too. What was sort of like the ideation process for the rest of the game?
The rest of the game. Since our theme is like Japanese ninjas, and we also thought of how about we do some like yokais as enemies.
Yeah.
And we basically like made yokais as the enemy and like get inspiration from actual yokais. So we did some like research on the thing. If you could see on the screen, it will be like umbrella yokais, and there's also like a lantern yokai, and there's like a yokai that's a tengu, which is all like inspired from actual folklore from Japan.
Very good.
It's so interesting. How I guess how did your research then correlate to your game design?
We actually, okay, so the main antagonist is the fox girl, basically, and or even the fox if you see the intro. We actually read through stuff like how yokais, like what yokais would fit being in a castle. And we saw like, there's like one yokai that said that she lives in a castle wearing like multi-layered kimono. But also there are some accounts that saying that she's also like a kitsune, which is basically a fox yokai. And we were like, oh, that's such a cool idea and it fits our like story so much and our lore. So we incorporated that into the story of the game and we designed it around the thing. And since we also want the aesthetic of the game to be like Japanese like ink like paintings, basically like this black and white, but we also incorporate more like color to like differentiate ourselves from Okami. So
Yeah.
that's basically the main like power of the fox girl, which is like holding a magical ink brush which she paints like yokais, evil yokais to destroy the area.
That's very cool. What sort of roadblocks did you run into when making this game? Because I can't imagine
Well,
making a game of this quality.
We made a lot of roadblocks. The first one was mostly the fundamentals like player movement and how would we accomplish the time slow mechanic. Because at first, when we wanted to actually change the time scale of the game, like time scale to 0 and 1, but that caused a lot of issues, mostly with the physics of the game. So instead we decided to do it ourselves like manually. We have a value, and that value affects certain things, like certain animation speeds, certain shader speeds, enemy movement, all that stuff. So I think those are the main hurdles. And in terms of the stuff we ran into later, it's mostly like rendering issues. Like stuff with the player having to render over certain stuff, grass rendering. We're still struggling with that a bit, but yeah, mostly now we're just dealing with rendering stuff.
I remember the biggest hurdle that we went over is the players sticking through walls. That's
Yes,
like the crazy Unity thing that always like probably most people have encountered.
We were stumped on that for months.
Yeah, we finally fixed
This
it.
guy fixed it though. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, on that note then, what are you the most proud of that you've been able to accomplish in this game, and how would you say you've grown as developers compared to your first year?
Most proud of thing we accomplished with this game. This is our first time really delving into 3D, so I would say the thing I'm most proud of is our use of shaders. Like you can see the one up there right now. It's a combination of shaders that me and Anson and John made. But like even just the shaders with like the materials, the full screen stuff, I think that's something that I'm pretty proud of how it turned out. And also just using a 3D space to its like fullest, potential. Just like populating with like trees and bushes and grass and stuff, and making it feel like a place you actually want to explore.
For me, I think I gained the most experience on trying to design a final boss, because during like designing a final boss, I want to really learn how to not just copy other games and actually derive something that like good qualities of a boss fight and actually apply it to my own boss fight, like instead of directly copying attacks from other like games, which is like I have like an interesting iteration that is already working. I mean, probably you won't be able to see it in the video itself, but when you get to play it yourself, maybe you'll see like what I'm trying to say once you get to the final boss in GameCon. So yeah.
Sure. Innovation is important, of course.
Yes.
And
I don't want to just like stick to what's already. I want to like draw my own and be creative with it. That's kind of why I came with the time slow thing in the first place, just to like stand on my other games and really stretch what I can do creatively.
Yeah, of course. And how do you think you're going to take this experience and sort of use it to innovate more in the future? Do you think you're going to make a game similar to this, or something?
Maybe not
completely-
next year, because we want to try something radically different than just like another adventure game. Because we've done adventure games 2 years in a row now, so we want to try something different. But in terms of stuff that we learned from this, that we can, maybe implement in the future, I would say mostly having to do with, again, 3D space, but also like, integrating other stuff in 3D space, like 2D, like sprites, objects, and that stuff. Because we use like some 2D stuff for like the spirits, the essence that draw out enemies, and like the collectibles. Because for the next game, we're definitely thinking of mixing like 2D elements with 3D, at least at the moment.
It's interesting that we already planned for the next game since we're still working on this one, but I think like this game really gave a lot of like lessons or experience on us, like how to plan for our next game.
Definitely. And like what to do, what okay, and what not to do.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do you have any funny stories of any crazy bugs or interactions that may have happened during development?
A lot. Like way too many to listen. I mean, way too many to count. You want to go first?
Lock on icon shooting up like a rocket.
Yeah.
So like there's sometimes where I accidentally, since we have like a billboarding system on the UI, right? So I would accidentally put the target offset onto itself, and then it will just launch itself up into the air. And like that's one of them. Maybe you could like talk one of them.
Yeah. Well, one of our recent was like with our first boss. Like some weird nav mesh stuff going on, but at times the boss would just like hover towards the player and like not stop moving, and the player would just get like bodied. Like it was really funny, but that happened during like a presentation, so it was a little embarrassing, but it is what it is.
Also during a playtest, the player was able to get out of the arena and try to hit the boss like through a wall, which is not ideal, but I guess that's a way to beat the boss in a way.
Well, I'm sure you need a very strong team dynamic to be able to address those bugs and make this game what you really
Ran
envision.
into a lot of conflicts, GitHub issues, yep, a lot.
But how has your team dynamic sort of helped you accomplish this?
Well, we're pretty, set in stone over like who does what and stuff. Like we have artists that make chairs, we have people who make music and sound effects, and we have programmers who like implement all the stuff that people, make.
Yeah, I think it's something that we learned from our first year. Like we know each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
So we know how to work around our weaknesses and like empower each other through their strengths and like delegate tasks like suitable for them.
Yeah. That being said, though, we like some team members do try to like branch out to other stuff. Like I'm mostly a programmer designer, but I do try to do some VFX stuff that you'll see in the game, like the time slow full screen effect, and also like Min, who was previously a programmer last year, just a programmer. He does a lot of 3D modeling now for the team, like including all the enemies and the main character.
In the animation.
Yeah.
Awesome. And for me, I do absolutely no art basically last year, except for the required one. But I basically have been like, since I'm a designer, I have some visions on how like stuff should look like or could look like, and I could like make prototypes like visual effects and stuff, and maybe show it to our artists and ask for their like suggestions on like how to improve, or maybe they could find ways to improve like my ideas on the visual effects. So I think that's like a very good skill to learn, like at least understand the basics of like every discipline to be able to like work with your teammates and stuff.
That was really good, really great advice. Very important stuff about team synergy. I guess to top it off, if you were to give from your learnings a piece of advice to any first years, maybe any people who have never done game development who are coming into the program, what would you tell them?
I would tell them stick to something simple and expand upon it. Don't do something complicated and try to shrink it down. Do something simple, and then once you like master your simple concept, then you can expand upon it to make it more complicated if you really want to. Because if you do the other way, where you make something complicated and try to shrink it down, some parts are gonna feel a lot underbaked because they originally, supposed to be more fleshed out. That's my advice anyway, from what I've learned.
I mean, for me, I think try not to contain yourself inside like a box. Like you're a programmer, then you only learn about programming. But I think it is good. That should be like you should have one focus of like discipline. But I think it's good to like branch out and learn other stuff, so you have at least the basics of like what is possible for other people's role, and some maybe that's not possible. Or even if you want to like easily like incorporate stuff from what they have told, or even like some words they've said, so you could like immediately, oh, so a vignette means like the full screen effect or something like that, and you'll immediately know instead of like what is that. So I think it's good to branch out to at least some of the basic ideas of like other disciplines and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, what are you guys looking forward to most at GameCon?
Seeing other people's games.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to people playing a game and like experiencing it, but also I'm really looking forward to what everyone else made too, just to like see it and like, experience what other people have been doing. Because honestly, this year I feel like at least for me, I've not been able to see a lot of other people's games outside my year.
Yeah, I really enjoy watching people play our game. Like I remember last year GameCon, I watched people play our games, finding weird bugs, but also like seeing people enjoy. Like even some kids came over to our booth and they were enjoying our game, which is like a very happy and fun experience.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
Well, with that, make sure to check out Slice of Life Studio Year 2 on GameCon.ca. And thank you guys so much for your fantastic interview.
Thank you.
And we're back again, once again, with Confused Shrimp Studios. My name is Dean.
I'm Lucas.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Ethan of Confusion Studios. I am our programmer, and I will also be doing VFX for our game.
I am in charge of sound effects and also some animations and some sprites in the game. And I also did a lot of the game design, so such as levels, puzzles, etc.
Tell us a bit about your game.
So Ozone is a 2D puzzle platformer, escape room type of game.
Yeah, just, you know what, let's just give me the monitor and I'll have the script up here. And testing again, I don't know if you can hear me.
How do we sound?
Hey, we got it! Woo! I love my tech team. Okay.
Thank you for your patience, guys.
Thank you, guys. Before we begin with the awards, a few quick announcements that I think are very important for your guys' potential future. After today's award show, starting with something that's not as, futuristic. After today's award show, we'll be setting up to play through the nominees and winning games starting around 5 p.m. So be sure to tune into that in order to check out some of the fantastic projects celebrated today from the GDIM program. Additionally, I think it's worth saying that whether you were nominated today or whether or not you win today, it's important to recognize that making something in this program and completing another year is such a huge accomplishment in its own right. You guys put so much passion and care into making your projects the best that they can be, and it really shows. We encourage you guys, all of you, to keep working on your projects and to submit to things like the Independent Games Festival, which you can check out at igf.com. Whether you're a nominee, winner, or a game developer in the program looking for opportunities, IGF is a fantastic way to try showing off your work. Games that manage to make it onto their shortlist are showcased at things like GDC, voted on by the public and industry, and are also shown off at their award ceremony. It's a fantastic opportunity to show off your work in a way that could potentially land you a job.
And now, for the awards.
As my time in this program comes to an end, I can't help but think of what it would be like to get to experience the game development program at OTU for the first time again. Well, that and Portal 2. It can be hard to start something new, especially with all of the other responsibilities that come with being a university student for the first time, or even the first time in a while, for some. We're so proud of all of the teams that came together to create a game in GDW for the very first time. And with that, let's pass it off to first year TA Alanis Davis to present Best First Year.
Go make sure Agnes background's in the frame. Perfect. All right. We good? Yes. Beautiful. Well, hello. The first year can be both an insane and eye-opening experience. As a past student of the GDM program, also the first iteration of this new program, I remember the shock of not even knowing anyone and not being tasked to, oh yeah, now you gotta make a game. Not just the ideas or just a concept of a game, but actually working with others that you just met to actually create something that your friends and families can play, and something that you're hopefully proud of at the end of the day. It may have been scary and felt like a long shot, but you all have tackled all these challenges and have come your way and eclipsed yourself and this transitional period that has come before and into entering this program. I know that you all should be proud of yourself. Whether you're here and you're nominated for an award, if you win the award, or if you just got through the first year. Generally, you should be proud of yourself, and I'm proud of all of you. And yeah, now let's get to see the nominees for the best first year. Alrighty then. And now for the moment that you all have been waiting for. The winner of the best first year is Gelato Gustavo and the Treasure of El Dorado by Sodat Studio. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And the mic is yours.
Anytime you make something, whether it's a piece of art, piece of writing, or in our case, a whole game, it takes so much confidence and courage to take that part of yourself, put it out into the world, and be vulnerable with it. That's why having so many people here with us today and who have shown up for us to support us every single day has made so much of a difference in our project. It's because of your support that we were able to push ourselves to make the best game that we could, to make the game that you see here today. So I'd like to thank everyone here, our professors, our colleagues, our classmates, and our friends for playing our game, for being here for us. Thank you.
Congratulations, Sorbet Studios, with a game name that's just as hard to say fast as it is good. They really did a fantastic job, especially in first year. For a first year game, the amount of content, crazy puzzles, atmospheric environments, and the cutest little player character of all time all come together to make their game a charming experience. The game clearly had a lot of heart and soul put into it, and the fact that they're continuing development is also so cool.
Yeah, that was so cool. Like, what I love is they have these really cool levels where the game just gets super crazy and there's like a bunch of arrows shooting at you, and these super atmospheric levels where like there's like laser puzzles and you gotta adjust the lasers to like beam them right and then unlock the doors, and I love it. It's so creative and it just like all comes together so well, and I just can't fathom it. Can't wait to find the full game on Steam. That being said, let's pass it on to Professor Gavin Ball for Best Art.
Hello, everybody. Okay. All right, so guys, each year at Ontario Tech, it seems like the art keeps progressing. And I literally say this every single year, and I hope I keep saying it. This year is no different. This year we received games with great 2D art, 3D art, interesting characters, environments, creative expression. Overall, I would say the artistic bar was raised this year across the board, okay? I believe that this is a testament to the hard work of the students, also the mentorship, dedication, and contribution of TAs, alumni, the GDSA, and the Game Art Club. So if everyone could just give a hand for everyone who's... So this has been great to see, and I hope and expect that it will continue. So that's on you guys, the third, second, and first years. You got to keep it going, and encourage the next group of first years as well. So this year, as I mentioned, the quality bar has been raised. It was impressive to see. Narrowing it down to 5 nominees must have been really difficult, and there were a lot of deserving projects that didn't end up on this list. So big congrats to those who did end up making it. And with that being said, the nominees for Best Art for 2026 are give another hand. Okay, so I think ultimately 2 games in particular really stood out to us, and the final decision came down to the 2 of them. I'd like to give an honorable mention to the runner-up. So, Chime by Douglas impressed us with its beautiful lighting, models, an impressive degree of overall cohesion, super impressive, fantastic to see in a game. And then I want to say congrats to Douglas and all the other nominees. We do have to have one winner, unfortunately. Or there can only be one winner. So please join me as we congratulate this year's winner for Best Art. Let's see. Gold Band Studios, A Fool's Rain.
Make sure you're in the tape, man.
All right. As our final act, A Fool's Rain demonstrates the maturing of Gold Band's art. This game's visuals were created through tears of frustration and exhaustion. Combining 2D hand-drawn sprites with a 3D world seamlessly was our most challenging artistic feat yet. Now, with the smoke finally clearing and the year concluding, we find these tears of frustration replaced with tears of bittersweet joy. We did it. We accomplished what we set out to do. And this is like a great feeling, an amazing feeling. However, we couldn't have gotten this far without the overwhelming support of friends, colleagues, professors, and of course, family. From the deepest part of our gold hearts, thank you so much for all of this. We will miss being fellow students in this passionate, inspiring program, and however brief it turned out to be, it meant so much, and thank you so much. Love you all so much.
Josiah, you're making me regret not bringing tissues, man. Oh my God, that was beautiful. How gorgeous were all of the nominees. All of you guys did a is everything all right? Thank you. All of you guys did a fantastic job, and it was an incredibly hard decision, I'm sure, by the GAC team and the external council. Josiah, that really was really pretty. Thank you, it was so nice. Every time I play through all of these games, I'm enamored by things like Chime's beautiful, meticulously crafted clock environment, Temporal Shadow's stylized, perfect encapsulation of Wii-era games. I'm looking at you, Okami, my beloved. And Windweaver's amazing portrayal of colorful Japanese-style weapons and environment. I've also been pleasantly terrified by Vector of Fear and the way that they managed to create such an immersive feel. Last but not least, A Fool's Rain seamlessly blended 2D and 3D art and brought it all together with their overall medieval style. These unbelievably talented candidates all made it incredibly tough, like I said, not me, but the council on GAC. And the award truly could have gone to any of you. You should be very proud of what you accomplished this year.
I'll just say all the games personally mesmerized me, with the exception of Vector Fear, which mesmerized me with fear.
For just a short break before we continue with awards, actually, sorry, I think we're going to do this after because we have a bit of a time thing. But in an award or two, we will be seeing some old style footage captured by GDSA's own Lucas B. From this year at GameCon 2026. We'll show that off in just a second because we are running on a bit of a different timeline. I'd say welcome back from our detour, but we didn't do it yet. You can start if you'd like.
Well, so after first year, you go into your second year. It's a very new experience for you. You're working, a lot of students are working in 3D for the first time. And, it's a very, very unique experience, whether you're working in like Godot or Unity or wherever you choose to dabble in. And it can really, this is where students really get to find their footing and see where their boundaries are at. Maybe you really liked working in 3D and you hated working in 2D. And you really, that was me, by the way, and you really find that, that's your thing. And because of that, we get to see so many cool creative projects from these students. And, hopefully finding their footing. But without further ado, it's time for Dr. Megan Adams to present Best Second Year.
I'm trying to lean into the microphone as much as possible. Second year is tough. You survive first year, and then you learn how to work in 3D. For the first time, and then for our students this year, their GDW4 was taught by a professor who's teaching it for the first time. So for that, and so many reasons, all of our second years, nominated or not, deserve to be proud of the work that they've done to keep growing as game devs. Let's take a look at our nominees for Best Second Year. All right. I want to say something shortly about all of our nominees for second year. For Seraph Studios, a Vector of Fear, a fully realized survival horror experience with incredible atmosphere and tension that made me and many others scream and jump out of our seats, even in playtesting, let alone in the final remarkably polished form. Ace's Windweaver's excellent opening tutorialization introduces the player to a gorgeous, cohesive world and the innovative single projectile feather dagger that altogether powers its celebration of the sheer joy of speed and movement. Slice of Life Studios' Temporal Shadow, with simply beautiful theming, character art, environments, cutscenes, sounds, as well as puzzles that genuinely build on each other using its core time mechanics, Temporal Shadow balances its beautiful aesthetics with a fully realized design. Logger Studios' EMD Everyone Must Die. EMD mixes retro aesthetics, including that fantastic CRT effect, and modern sensibilities like its bird's eye view mechanic to make an intensely kinetic and satisfying shooter. EMD glorifies violence, and I mean that in the best way possible, with a baseball bat. Platypus's Platypary, as charming and quirky as the monotreme for which it is named, Platypary's team tackled networked multiplayer in second year, so players could platypelt each other with tomatoes, loudspeakers, and traffic cones. And our winner for best second year is, if I figure out how to open up the envelope, Temporal Shadow by Slice of Life Studios.
All right. First off, just want to say we've been through a lot this year, a lot of assignments, a lot of trials, a lot of tribulations, but through all of it, we stuck together. And honestly, I just want to say I wouldn't be here and I couldn't be here without all of these guys. Everyone here on my team is great. I love them all. Honestly, I might be I might be the worst person on our team, but like I wouldn't be anywhere without these guys. Everyone is great. I appreciate everyone so much on our team. Honestly, I'm just so happy that we're going to continue to stick together for third year. So I just want to thank everyone on my team.
Thank you.
What a fantastic showing by every single one of the second years this year. You guys all did a great job, and it was evident how much work you put into your game. Like we were saying earlier, you really find your footing in first year and get a chance to go into second year with a little bit more knowledge and feeling a little bit more prepared. However, I'm sure teams still bite off more than they can chew. I think that's just the game dev way. Fantastic showing from Slice of Life as well. Congratulations. They went really in depth with their visuals, managing to pull off a lovely homage to an incredibly beautiful game, as well as showing off some really cool mechanics. I love their use of strategic puzzles, striking a good balance between repeating familiar concepts to the player while keeping the solutions fresh and interesting. And they had multiple bosses to fight. What an experience.
Yeah, props to every single one of those all of those teams. They were just also refreshing and inspired in their own ways.
Absolutely. Now, let's pass it off to Dr. Alvaro Quevedo for Best Tech, but I don't think he's quite here yet. No, he is? He is. Ah, perfect. Okay, sorry about that.
Yay, Alvaro!
Hi everyone, it's very excited to be here. I had a blast on Friday. Unfortunately, I couldn't play all the games, but I did play enough to be very proud of what you are all achieving at different stages. So for today, I will be presenting the Best Tech Award. It was a tough call. Many of you excelled, many of you had good bones. And looking at the overall experience and everything that went behind, we had great discussions. I just wanted to mention that when you look at all of these wonderful games, we were discussing things like going beyond what the engine of choice provides, right? Not just conforming with what the tool gives you, but taking that tool ahead, right? And that comes in terms of graphics, in terms of gameplay, controls, everything, right? And this is what all these games are being nominated for. I hope that you find inspiration in these games, and I hope that you get inspired to push yourself to do more, right? And if you look at the history of games, and you have a really good example set up by Dr. Hogue in the Retro Room, is that when we have constraints, when we have limitations, we find our way, right? So we can make things better. And that all said, the award goes to A Fool's Rain by Gold Band Studios.
I'm an art.
Where's that? What? Oh, he's over
Cold
there.
sweet. Somebody else's speech.
Me neither. Okay. We'll see. I'll like bullshit.
Wow, best tech, that's crazy. I don't think any of us expected this. I know I asked like all my teammates like, no, there's no way. And Logan was like, you have something ready, right? Because if we get it, you're talking. I'm like, yeah, totally. So all I could really say is, it's all Adam and it's all these guys. They're like the biggest chunk of this award. So,
Yeah, and I mean, when we think about it, I guess when it comes to the artistic side, there's tech art, and I guess tech is a big part of that. So, I mean, thank you so much for recognizing that aspect of the game as well. Really appreciate it. It's really fun to take engines and then just break it apart and figure out how to put it back together, right? Using, things like the render passes and things, looking at it in depth and then taking it, adding filters to it, and then getting something that looks completely different, right? Thank you so much for noticing that from us. Appreciate it.
Back to back for a Fool's Rain, that's no small feat. The tech team over at Gold Band Studios really pushed the engine to its limits, especially with that hybrid 2D/3D rendering and some of the most responsive projectile physics we've seen from a student project.
Absolutely. And speaking of technical polish, let's talk about Best Sound. The nominees in this category really brought their worlds to life, from the haunting ambiance and occupational hazards to the atmospheric audio and chime. Here to present the award for Best Sound, please welcome Rom DePrisco.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rom DePrisco. I am a music composer and sound designer. Been working in the industry for a little while now. And I'm also the occasional professor for game sound and advanced game sound. And I'm super excited to be giving out this award today for Best Sound, because sound is super important in the industry. It's quite often something where a lot of studios will think of it as a last resort and it'll have the smallest budget, and quite often the smallest team. And I don't mean to sound negative, but getting more eyes and ears on sound and getting more people talking about sound and experimenting about sound is a really positive thing, and it's a really good thing. So I love that we have this award for Best Sound here at Ontario Tech, because I've been coming to the GameCons here for almost 15 years now, and every single year, I know it sounds cliche, but every single year, there are games with incredible sound, and quite a lot of them. And it's usually very hard to judge and come up even with the nominee list for this. So I love that we're doing this and we're recognizing it. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to be going on for a little bit. So whether you see games as an art form or as a business, two different viewpoints, but having better sound can dramatically enhance both your game's artistry and commercial success. Back in the early 90s, you needed $1 million studio to be doing AAA sound. I am not joking about this. By the late 90s, you could do this with a $10,000 home studio due to the advent of new sound technology. Now you can produce AAA quality sound on a laptop, sometimes even on a tablet or even a phone I've seen, with free open source software, thanks to the rapid advancement of sound technology that we're seeing today. And there has never been a better time to experiment and get creative with game audio than there is right now. On top of that, with so much AI music flooding the markets right now across entertainment and interactive industries, there has never been a better time to take it a little more seriously and have a need for organic human experimentation, ingenuity, and creativity to really drive forward sound in games into the future. I would like to note that every single member of each team that was nominated should be very proud of their work, not just the people working on sound in the team, since sound is dependent on many other aspects of game development, including design, art, and tech. And when the dev team works to cohesively blend these together as one, is when the really good stuff happens. If you are curious about how the games were judged for best sound, we had a committee this year of 5 members doing this. I want to thank them. Carter, Constantine, Nate, myself, and Johan. And I want to thank them because they did a very good job. We came together, we discussed it, and we agreed on a lot of stuff. And it was very difficult. We also completely disagreed on a few things. And we hashed it out and we talked about it. And that's a really good thing. And we came to some good conclusions here. It was tough, as it always is. But there was one that really did stand out. So I'd like to thank my team, the sound committee, for that. And if you're curious about the criteria that we used when judging these games, we looked at 4 main categories: sound design, in-game sounds, background ambiances, transitional or stinger type sounds, Foley elements of what you're interacting with in the world. We also looked at music composition, everything from production, the actual composition, notes and chord structure, to arranging, which is very important, the arrangement of the flow and structure of the music and how it interacts with the game design. As well as things like mixing, if there's mastering, we took that into consideration, and the instrumentation or orchestration as well, depending on the game genre. We looked at voiceover recording, some of the lesser known things, such as the script writing or the actual delivery from the voiceover artist, which is very important, as well as the more traditional things, such as mixing and effects processing, but also the editing, which is also extremely important and can make a huge difference on the final product, whether the voiceovers are edited or just kind of implemented the way they were recorded. It is a very big thing. And the last category, audio tech. So we took in consideration audio programming, spatial sound, adaptive, interactive audio systems, music systems, or any combination of music and audio, adaptive, interactive, and dynamic systems for that. And last but not least, creativity and originality, which is super important. If you're going out with microphones and recording sounds from scratch, it's very different to finding sounds on the internet and reusing them or processing them. So all that stuff was in consideration when we were judging these. Before I continue, I would like to give a few quick shout outs to some games that were not even nominated, but had some solid music and or sound design elements. Shout outs to Tri-Soul Chamber, Windweaver, Toy Boxers, Eco Archive, Vector of Fear, and Bash Buddies. There are probably some more, but I tried to get to as many as I could, but those were the ones that stood out to the sound committee. And I'd also like to give a moment to recognize some of the great sound work before we take a look at the nominees of all the nominated games, because I really think this needs to be talking about. Sphero by 100 Ideas, excellent music composition and production, and great cohesion and fluidity between the sound design and music, and the overall sound mix. Sphero also had a sound vision that was extremely unique and creative. Chime by Douglas, amazing sound design work that conveys a deep level of texture and depth across the entire soundscape, and greatly enhances the gameplay and design of the game. Chime has an excellent orchestrated soundtrack that is very dynamic with a lot of detail in the stereo field, and with each instrument having a perfect place in the arrangement and mix. Tempro Shadow by Slice of Life Studios features music that evokes a lot of emotion with both its instrumentation and note choices, and perfectly aligns with the gameplay, as well as solid sound design and some very lush atmospheric background sounds that are nicely balanced in the mix. A Fool's Rain by Gold Band Studios. Fantastic music compositions with beautiful instrumentation and arrangements and great panning and stereo field imaging. A Fool's Rain also has excellent and dynamic background ambiances and overall sound design that is perfectly balanced in regards to the mix levels in the overall frequency spectrum. I'm almost done. Occupational Hazards. I'm passionate about sound, I couldn't help myself. Occupational Hazards by Chaos Theory. Great voiceover work that sounds both natural and believable, which is very important. Excellent effects processing on that voiceover work and in the sound design that really sells the genre, the game concept, and the game environment. And an overall atmosphere that is brought to life by excellent Foley elements. Okay, let's take a look at all the nominees for Best Sound. Okay, everybody. And the winner of Best Sound is A Fool's Rain by Gold Band Studios.
Brandon, it's yours.
Brandon, stand here, stand here, stand here, stand here. Oh, thank you, stand here. Stand beside me, stand beside me, stand beside me. Hello, everyone. My name is Adam. This is Brandon, and we were both on the sound team this year for A Fool's Rain. Now, I still remember the first time in year 2 when Brendan and I would sit in front of an empty DAW with nothing but a MIDI keyboard, and it was so much fun. Nothing could top the feeling of just filling it out and having just a new song or new sound to put inside the game. And every year, it got better and better, and whether or not we were, having fun geeking out about music theory or arguing about which sound we should use for a hover button, or even just tinkering around with VSTs, every year it was just insanely fun. And if there's anything that you guys should be taking away from this, it's not that if you create amazing music or whatever that you'll get awards for that. Absolutely not. What you guys need to know is if you absolutely put all your focus and all your passion into the art that is music and sound, and you really showcase that and be very expressive, you'll be such an amazing sound designer or musician. Thank you very much.
Be careful.
Thank you, Adam, for those very wise words.
Yeah, what the heck, man? Oh my god.
And holy moly, well deserved. Congratulations to Gold Band on another win for Fool's Rain. And
There we go. Ooh, baby, a triple. I love hearing passionate people talk about the things that they're good at. You guys are fantastic. I think it's very obvious that this team really pushed themselves in each of their different disciplines and had an incredibly strong vision on how to bring everything together for a complete experience. Soundtrack release when? Incredible work, guys, and congratulations.
And since we're on the topic of sound, you might have been hearing when we, on the stream or in person, these reels, they have some very nice music. The idle screen has very nice music. We want to give a special thank you to Harish over there for making the music for this award ceremony.
I couldn't agree more on both accounts. Now, let's shift gears to check in on our upperclassmen. Third year is unique to the GDIM experience because it's the first year that you get the entire 8 months of GDW to go full tilt, and over scope or not, on your game. You have a solid foundation from your first 2 years, but you have to balance more time management and resist the temptation to overscope, like I said. Ask me how I know. Regardless, this year, third year absolutely killed it, as did every year.
You're so right. And here to present Best Third Year, we have our one and only third year GDW TA, Lucas Abramchuk.
Woo!
Hello, everybody. As they said, I'm Lucas. I am the TA for third year GDW this term. Third year it's a really interesting experience because you're learning a new engine, you're challenged to get deeper in your craft and kind of learn more about what you want to do in the industry. Plus, you get me as a TA, so that's pretty nice. But, I think that third year is also probably the best year of this program for the reasons that I just mentioned. You have to learn more about your craft. You have to get better and better and refine yourself. You're learning a new engine. Learning is good. And again, you get me as a TA, so that's nice. But we call something in third year, we say, and it's a note in the program, is the third year hump. All of these challenges mount on you. And I'm really proud to say that each and every third year this year has made it past that hump, and I'm really impressed with the work that you've done. But without further ado, and you don't want to listen to me, we're going to pitch it to the nominees for Best Third Year. right, we're back. You know, the selection committee had a really hard time picking the winner from this list of nominees, but they had to pick one. And the winner for Best Third Year is Chime by Douglas.
I know, the blue guy. My post is power play. Who wants to speak? Yeah. Go ahead.
Honestly, when you're making a game, it's really it is a team effort. Making such like a tight, polished experience truly could not have been done without everyone standing here behind me. Thank you to everyone for the hard work and effort you guys put in. You absolutely killed it. This is a team award here. Thank you, everyone.
They grow up so fast. Congratulations again to Chime for their win for Best Third Year. Well deserved, which could be said about any of the games, as they were amazing, but Chime really pulled off a polished experience that I enjoyed every single time I played it, even when I got stuck, because I'm not good at platformers. I also would like to make just a little bit of an announcement for a mistake on my part that has nothing to do with this award, don't worry. But Quantum Nexus Games with 9 to 5 was a fantastic experience as well that I believe should have been nominated, and that was my oversight. I just want to give them a shout out for the fantastic work that they did. I don't know if any of them are here today, but I wanted that to be said. Making our way towards the end of the awards here today, not quite yet, not quite the last, but definitely not the least, let's introduce Best Fourth Year.
These are the games that accumulate all of the learnings from their past 3 years of experience. Super polished and super ambitious.
Here to present the award for Best Fourth Year today is the one and only Dr. Hogue.
All right, hi everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to say I had such a great time at GameCon, and I was so impressed with all of you and all of the games this year. For me personally, I'm always extremely excited, and I say extremely a lot, that's what my wife says, so anyway, to see how you all grow from the moment I meet you at the first lecture in Essential Math for Games 1 until your final GameCon. Speaking of your final GameCon, it's my pleasure to present the award for Best Fourth Year Game Project. This award recognizes a team that has brought together everything they have learned throughout their time in the program: design, storytelling, technical skill, creativity, collaboration, and persistence. All the blood, sweat, and tears. Creating a game at this level is no small task. It takes vision, problem solving, countless revisions, and the ability to turn ideas into a polished, interactive experience. Tonight, we celebrate more than a finished project. We celebrate the dedication, growth, and talent behind it. Congratulations to all our fourth year teams for the work you have accomplished. And now, the nominees. You should all be proud of yourself. That was amazing. So the best fourth-year game goes to A Fool's Rain, Gold Band Studios.
Hold your medals, they pick up on the mic.
Is it you? Oh. For your speech or no, it's Logan, of course.
This one's Logan. Hold your medals, they pick up.
Okay, yeah.
Towards the front.
Sure. Hello again. Okay. So, passion. If there's one word to describe the creations of Gold Band, it is certainly that. Through patience and perseverance, we have pushed ourselves in every way to create 3 distinct worlds. We first explored the vast lands of Espa as Alana in the dreamlike Spectre's Trail. We then conquered the arena against Crowan in the grand spectacle of Stormhammer. And finally, we find ourselves as a whimsical jester ruling the lorddom in the fabled storybook of A Fool's Rain. It's hard to truly believe we could have got this far without the constant love and support of those surrounding us. Family, friends, colleagues, and of course the professors. Thank you for noticing us. Thank you for providing the time and space for us to create. And thank you for sharing in this passion for making incredible worlds. Love you all so much, and we are incredibly grateful. We are excited to pursue in developing A Fool's Rain as an indie game to release on Steam. So until then, goodbye for now.
Everyone say Gold Band.
Go Band!
Congratulations once more to Gold Band with A Fool's Rain. I know the deliberation was incredibly difficult because I was sat outside the room with my other fourth years for 4 hours on Saturday, but they did a great job. Thank you to the team for the deliberations, and thank you guys for being here as well. Don't worry, that is not the last award. For our final award of the night, Best Design. This is such a tough category because design is so many different things. Mechanics, user experience, and how well everything comes together are all such big factors. It's so hard to distill it down to one thing, and so hard that I'd say it's impossible. But what I can say is that this year, like every award, there was incredibly tough competition.
And here to present our final award of the day, the one and only Professor James Robb.
He's already there.
Thank you.
Well, my script starts with, for those that don't know me, but it seems like you do. So, I am Professor James Robb, and I am lucky enough to be your GDIM program director. I am honored to present this year's award for excellence in game design. Lauren, you already covered a lot of it, but for the sake of, no, it's great. The GameCon Award for Excellence in Design honors teams that explore novel game concepts, craft well-structured and innovative systems, and create seamlessly playable experiences that surprise and delight their players. This year, GameCon featured many excellently designed and well-polished games that provide a wide range of player experiences. We saw everything from puzzles, platforms, heroes, monsters, everything in between. We played through haunted ships, painted worlds, and antique clocks. Your nominees this year stood out among the over 50 games for their careful, intentional, and player-focused design. The nominees for the 2026 GameCon Excellence in Game Design Award are And we are back. I know you're very excited for this envelope. Before we get to the winner, I want to congratulate each and every one of the nominating teams and tell you a little bit about what makes them unique and fantastic. So, if you'll allow me just a little bit of time to tell you a bit about what you've just seen. So, in no particular order, Sphero by 100 Ideas is a very, very cool, I think of it as a choose-your-own platformer. Players are given the ability to choose the behavior of their jumps, their double jumps, their dashes, to build a toolkit that allows them to effectively traverse the in-game world. The flexibility of this system is incredibly interesting and exemplifies excellence in design. The Blank Protocol by Arpeggio Games is a detective game that took a massive swing. Players decode documents and unravel an intriguing story, needing to flip back and forth through images, schematics, and text to piece together information and solve the overarching mystery. The design of these puzzles make the player feel like a detective, solving documents piece by piece. It's so satisfying and showcases an excellent sense of game and puzzle design. Temporal Shadow by Slice of Life Games, uses a clever time-slowing mechanic and weaves it through both their puzzles and their combat, including those 3 super hyped boss battles. The bosses all behave in interesting ways, and no combat feels the same. Using time manipulation to solve puzzles is very, very well polished in this game. The game expertly walks the line of designing puzzles where ideas get reused, but where it's the ideas that are getting reused, but not the solutions. This makes every puzzle a player encounters feel approachable and intuitive, but never the same. This is, you guessed it, excellent design. And now I've lost my place. I could talk about design for an hour, so I had to write something. Chime by Douglas is the full package. A complete experience with a variety of fun and interesting mechanics to play with as you navigate the inside of the clock. Platforming is clean. Platforming is satisfying. The movement, the navigation, the overall level design have been polished to a point where it is indistinguishable from a commercial game release. The Douglas team has even tuned their difficulty to ensure that players maintain a flow state where there is consistent but approachable level of platforming challenge. Chime is excellently designed. And of course, you've heard a lot about A Fool's Rain from Josiah already, and the rest of the Gold Band team. A Fool's Rain by Gold Band Studios features a lot of indirect gameplay. Players recruit and outfit their followers who fight on their behalf, requiring careful design of those underlying technical systems. Furthermore, the play interface itself is very tactile. Inventory items are physically manipulated to buy, sell, trade, and outfit. Here, the act of interacting with the game itself is fun, whether it's simply guiding the followers around to help them fight battles for you, or moving a coin from your bag onto the table of a merchant. A Fool's Rain is, say it with me, excellently designed. So thank you for everyone that made a fantastic game, and thank you in particular to all the nominees for designing unforgettable experiences. I suppose I've made you wait long enough, but know that no matter who is in this envelope, the game that wins today is a game that took big risks and had an incredible payoff. So, without further ado, your 2026 GameCon winner for excellence in game design goes to The Blanc Protocol by Arpeggio Games.
Sick. Oh, do we wait till then? Thank you. Narrative is very, very important. Like, stories have been like the thing since like cave drawings to the Bible to like Sonic fan fictions and cyberpunk. Stories are timeless and, you know, the way to convey emotion. And the Blanc Protocol, we try to do that. We did a lot of rewrites, like 50 pages of drafts, and we got to a interesting plot. And I'm glad everyone was able to enjoy it. I'll continue to try and game design is not just me. The writing's a big part, but Owen and I wish Zach was here and Chase as well. It was a big group effort. But thank you so much, and I hope we can continue to bring interesting stories because games are such an amazing medium for that. We're not bound by production costs. We are, but you know, it's different than film, and it's better.
They look so in awe.
They're so cute.
That is so adorable.
Ah!
Oh, it's back to us.
Sorry, that was so nice. Congratulations to the Blanc Protocol. They've taken it for best design. It's so exciting to see a game that attempts a genre that we don't see very often. That's not to say that any of the other games that were considered for design weren't absolutely incredible. The Blanc Protocol, again, they did a great job. Congratulations to RPG Games. I'm so excited to see what you guys come up with in the future.
I don't know what to say. I'm just blown away. I love so much how unique their game was. The fact that they were able to take a whole story and make it just typing and reading. Just typing and reading. And
Reading
it's
and
so
typing.
fun. Reading and typing. Like, that game had some of the tightest UX we've ever seen. Every menu, every tooltip, every control scheme felt so meticulously play-tested. Not to mention the core loop, typing and reading. Like, a puzzle game that teaches you its rules without a single word of dialogue. That's masterclass, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big stan.
For now, this comes to the end of the awards that we have for today. Let's give one final round of applause to all our winners, our nominees, and every single team that put a game on that floor at GameCon. Regardless of being nominated, winning or not, you guys have completed another year of the GDIM program. If you're in first to third year, that means you get a summer before you head back into the program and dive right back into game design, or game dev, sorry. Woo. If you're a fourth year, I believe firmly that you will go on to do bigger and greater things. You guys are incredible. It's very obvious how much passion, time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears you guys put into your games every single year. Following this, we will be playing through the winners and nominees of the games. I do not know if that will be here or in the lab. That is to be seen, and we will let you know on the Discord. Again, please don't forget to submit your games to IGF. It really is a phenomenal initiative and absolutely worth checking out. I think with that, that concludes today's awards. Thank you everybody for being here, whether it's in person, online, friends, family support. Have a great day and a fantastic rest of your summer.
in charge of sound effects and also some animations and some sprites in the game. And I also did a lot of the game design, so such as levels, puzzles, etc.
Tell us a bit about your game.
So Ozone is a 2D puzzle platformer, escape room type of game, where you're trapped inside this abandoned facility and you have to traverse it and find different items and objects to help you solve puzzles to escape the game, escape the facility.
During the development, what do you guys felt was the most difficult part to work with?
I think, honestly, team communication was a big issue we had, just sort of organizing our tasks and making sure like everyone's working on what they need to work on and just sort of organizing ourselves in a way that helps us actually make the game properly.
There was a huge factor. Right from the get-go, everyone was like kind of split in half. That half the team wanted to do one thing, half the team wanted to do the other one. Communication was a big problem, but in the end, we got through it. Of course, there was a time issue, but I think we worked with the best of our abilities to catch up, and I think we have caught up to GameCon.
Yeah, and I think catching up was a big part of it actually, because for the first month or the first few weeks we were working on the game, we had a completely different idea, and we found out like it just didn't work. So we had to essentially revamp our entire game and start from the beginning again to make something new that actually felt like a good game that felt fun.
That is really interesting. How did your initial concept, how does that compare to your current concept?
Well, originally we had a point-and-click sort of adventure. To be honest, the main issue was we weren't really sure what it was. Like, we knew we wanted to do sort of point-and-click puzzle game, but we didn't really know how to make it work and feel like different or innovative in any way or just fun. Like, when we were discussing it, we were like, how do we make this feel good, like a good game? And also like, just everyone had different ideas that they were throwing around and it just sort of wasn't working. So it's very different now, obviously. The platforming is something we added to make the game a little more interesting, and then, you know, different puzzles, different forms of puzzles. So,
yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
As first years, you guys see a lot of new tools, or even for the first time tools you're using in the industry. How do you felt learning about them during this experience to make the game?
It's been an experience. Honestly, yeah, just like getting used to using Unity. It can be a little difficult sometimes, but like it hasn't been terrible. It's been a fun learning experience, just sort of getting used to like the tools and using them in a bunch of different ways to like implement things that I've never seen before.
I believe the visual effects was one of those, right?
Visual effects was one of those things, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's something I haven't worked with before. It's something very new to me. So I'm just still sort of getting used to it. Like, you can see there aren't really many visual effects in the game right now. Just some very, very simple, probably unnoticeable things. But I'm currently actually working on trying to do more and implement more so that the game looks and feels like the best it can.
How have your game design ideologies and philosophies and just your general workflow, how have they improved through your entire experience?
Well, it's improved substantially when we actually built the game. So we had me, Ethan, and one other group member, we all collectively sat down, said, what design would be fun to play? And so far, a lot of them has been fun, but I saw in the game, which we have changed and will add to afterwards, they were not a problem, but they weren't as fun as they could be, and it's just tweaking. It's not really changing it in any substantial way, but basically, it's just you test things out, and if they work, they work. If they don't, then you can tweak it. And I think we all collectively did a really good job. Like I said before, we all have ideas, we pitch it together, and we just make a decision based off of each other's ideas. Like, is it fun to play?
Yeah, and I think playtesting is a big proportion of that, because during the beginning of the development process, we weren't really doing any playtesting. We were just sort of throwing ideas back and forth. But once we had an actual substantial game and that we were able to put together and actually test between ourselves and between other people, it helped us develop like a better game, I think. And like I've already played through our game like 30 times already. And getting other people on it also has been very insightful.
Talking about playtest, do you guys found anything during your playtest sessions that you're able to say, oh my god, that's something new we didn't know, or example or of areas that were working or not?
There were a lot of things that weren't working, to be honest. We did get a lot of good feedback about a lot of things that are still in the works that we're going to be changing. Like the camera angle, for example, it just doesn't really work for the map design that we sort of have. So like changing that, for example. Also the items, you used to be able to throw them all over the place, and that would cause like a bunch of different soft locks throughout the game. So just like fixing small things like that has helped us improve for sure.
That's really interesting. If you could give yourself, you at the beginning of the school year, any advice, what would you give?
I'd say plan better.
Yes.
Communicate
Organize.
better.
Yeah.
Have more organization. Definitely. Those three main things. I find even in the first semester it was a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
But that was also because we were just getting used to everything and settling down. This semester was just miscommunication, and that led to the issue of planning.
Yeah. But I think now that we've had this experience, I think it's good that it happened at this stage in our game development journey, just so that we know for the future, okay, this is what we have to do to help us prepare better in the future, so that, we can properly get together, organize ourselves, and say, okay, this is the game we have, this is what we're going to do with it going forward. Each person is going to do this, this, and this, just so that we know, how to better organize ourselves and actually make the game instead of just writing.
That's a very smart response. Yeah. I guess following that, how do you think you'll take that mindset into your second year?
It's a good question. I think changing our team dynamic up a little bit, just sort of making sure like the tools we're using, everyone has access to them, everyone knows, when they should be checking or updating like their tasks, for example, just so that we're all on the same page, because that was the main issue we faced, was not everyone knowing originally like what our game is.
Exactly, and I feel like collaboration in every aspect. So if you're not good at this, we can help you in that area. So for example, I'm not the strongest programmer, and that's something I really want to work towards. So next time, I'm going to sit down with my team and say, we all have this idea that we are fond of, and I want to help in as many areas as possible, but I have my main task, but I want to dabble in each area. So I can help you, you can help me learn it, and we're all collectively knowing what's going on in our game. So we all know what's up to date, like Ethan said, and what's being put in our game.
Yeah. And I think that's a big proportion of it too. Like, as I'm not our lead programmer currently, but I did do like a decent bit of programming for our game, and obviously I'm not super experienced with programming, so just like having Mark, for example, like just a couple days ago, he helped me figure out a problem I was having with like the moving platforms, right? Like figuring out the logic for that. So just being able to help each other with things we don't quite understand, and making sure, everyone has their individual roles, but also you can help people with stuff that they're struggling with. Yeah.
Well, that's very smart. Lucas, you have any thing you want to ask them?
I don't know. You ask really good questions. I feel right now, since we talk about the past, we talk about the present. What about the future? What are you excited for the future, or something like you keep in mind going forward to this day?
We're making a rhythm game. Alright. At least I think so. That's what we've talked about. Like, for a second year, probably making a rhythm game. Very different from what we did here, obviously. being like a puzzle platformer action adventure type of thing. Like,
definitely.
a very different experience, and it's probably also going to be in 3D, which is something we haven't really touched at all.
That is something I want to dabble into, especially. I really want to look into 3D animation and visual effects as well, so me and Ethan will be dabbling in visual effects for our game and really polishing that area. And especially for the rhythm game, I'm in charge of sound effects along with my other collaborator is in charge of music. So we all are like really interested in a rhythm type game. So going into next year as a head start into what we want to make, I feel like we could get a lot done and polish it really well.
Yeah, and it's very different from this type of game, as I mentioned before, but I think there are at least some aspects of it that we can sort of use and carry forward to help us, you know, in the future with making our rhythm game or even a different type of game if we choose to do so.
That's really cool. Follow-up question. Are you excited to use any type of tool in the future that you have not used before and you have heard about it?
Not that I've thought about, honestly. I think we're probably going to be sticking with Unity for the time being. There aren't really many other tools for specifically like implementing the game that we've used, but there are a couple other like assets and stuff that we've sort of like Pixelate, for example, for finding sound effects. Like there are a lot of good tools we've found that I think we will be using in the future, like Trello and Discord for organizing our team, for example. I think those have worked better for us, at least in the latter half of our development cycle, in getting us all like organized. But yeah, I think Unity has been relatively good to us so far, so we'll probably be sticking with that.
So has this taught you that you like to make rhythm games, or what type of has this kind of taught you what type of games you like to make? Have you figured that out yet?
I believe so, in the sense that me and the other peer in our group, we really liked doing sound effects and music. So we really were like, we got to pitch this to the team, and everyone seemed like they really liked it, enjoyed the idea. So we're going to go with that because Ethan seems to like visual effects. I am personally interested in that, and also 3D modeling. So it's just bringing that experience over to something completely new that we are really invested in to making. So those aspects, it's going to be really fun to do.
Yeah, and we've only made platformers so far. Like it's just been pure platformers throughout.
We want to mix it up a bit.
We definitely want to mix it up and make something new and fun.
Well, I guess to add on to that, then, where do you guys see yourselves? You definitely want to explore more areas. Where do you guys see yourselves with exploring those areas in, let's say, third year, fourth year, maybe?
That is a good question.
Good question. Are we making another rhythm game third year?
Well, it depends on what we do next year.
Yeah, I think it really depends on our team dynamic, to be honest, because we don't know, you know, the people that are going to be around us, or if it's just going to be, you know, us 3 or 4 people. Like, we don't really know what our group is going to look like, what sort of skills we're going to have in the future. But yeah, I think definitely we're going to be looking to mix it up, make different types of games instead of just sticking with one continuously, because that'll help us gain experience in a bunch of different areas, and therefore, you know, we can have the experience of having made those games, and we can use that in the future.
I also personally feel like we've done really fast-paced games. Like our first game that we made last semester was a co-op game, and having such a party game and then a fast-paced platformer, I feel like we want to slow down a little bit, and so maybe the rhythm game could be a relaxing one to just sit down and enjoy for 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah, I think making something more casual, more chill is probably gonna help us, especially when designing, because, you know, making like a faster paced game, you have to think, okay, how am I going to make this an intense enough experience that the player actually feels the stakes, right?
Towards a bright future, and thank you very much. Check out Confused Shrimp Studios games on GameCon.ca, And thank you very much for this, guys.
All right, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. Hello everyone, we're back again. I'm Ethan. I'm Lucas. And we're here with the third year team, Steel Farmers. You guys want to introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about your game?
Yeah, so I'll go first. My name is Aiden, and I'm the project lead and the lead artist.
Hey guys, I'm over here now. I'm Dean. I'm the game designer and the VFX artist.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming. Let's just start off with asking. During the development of Tri-Slope Chamber, what do you guys think was the most fun part to work on it?
Okay, so for the most fun part, I would say it was just the fact that initially when I made the group, I really wanted to do a game that was very similar to Wuthering Waves because I really like the combat in that game and the feel. So for me, the most fun part was being able to work on a game like that, and then I had to learn a bunch of skills that translated into making that. And overall, the development process for me was just really fun because it's a game that I really, really wanted to make. And then, of course, being with like some of my closest friends, the development was very fun along the journey as well.
Awesome. So what's sort of the vision here? What is the scope of your game? What is the goal?
It's funny you talk about scope. So this game, a fun fact is the game had to be rescoped like 4 or 5 times, so much that it even had to have a name change. So basically what we landed on now is a very much emphasis on the combat. You see there's a lot of flashiness, a lot of flamboyancy, a lot of just cool flashy sword moments. You see we have a variety of swords, 3 different swords. Each sword has their own animation combo, style, a heavy attack, and an ultimate ability. See, there's a lot there. But basically the initial plan was a whole open world adventure with puzzles and dungeons and like this whole system. And I was like, Aiden, man, you're a little crazy.
Yeah,
you
okay,
gotta
so
do less.
this is essentially the timeline. Okay, start of April, we're just like, okay, we got a whole year. We can make the biggest game ever. Let's make an open world game. Let's do multiple swords. Let's have dungeons so that you have to get each sword from a dungeon. And then I think when the 4 months passed for summer, that's when we were like, okay, hold on. 4 months have passed, and I don't even have the character model done yet. So we're like, okay, let's cut it down. So then instead we changed it to a valley up into the tower, and then the valley was just going to be the tutorial, walking up to the tower, so we still had a little bit of the open world aspect. That completely disappeared as well. And then that got downgraded into making a very tiny like training range that has a very small training range, and then we just made it so that you go into a portal and you just appear in the boss room. We also had 4 different types of enemies that got cut down all the way to 1. So I think that just goes to show you, a year may seem like a really long time, but people still have their own lives. They're still just doing the things they need to do, and time goes by very quickly. So lesson there, don't be too ambitious.
For sure. Yeah, it seems like scope would be a pretty big issue.
Yeah.
And what other types of issues did you run into when making this game? What sort of strange bugs did you find, probably?
Oh, strange bugs. Oh boy. Okay, so Esmond actually, which is our sound effects dev on our team, and he's also, I put him as main playtester as well. So our initial game, like by our second milestone, wasn't too long ago. Initially, all we had was 2 sword models and 2 swing animations. Just 1, 2. That was all we had. No enemies, no boss, nothing. So it was hard for him to playtest. But last night, he actually did playtesting for a few hours. He sent a document that's like 30, 40 points of like 20 bugs and just like 20 things that need to be changed. Like a few bugs is with the fire sword skill where you jump up and you slam down. If you get hit during that, you'll be stuck in the air. You can jump out of the map. You can jump out of the tutorial. If you block at certain times, you're completely immune to all damage. The bugs were countless, and they just kept coming. And so right now we have Jaden and Ryan, our programmers, hard at work trying to fix as many of these bugs as possible right now.
Oh wow. Also talking about playtesting, how do you felt that playtesting throughout the development of the game helped you understand how the game was going?
Definitely playtesting helps you realize that in theory, you can think of a design and be like, this is really good on paper,
and execution-wise, you'll realize that you might have thought you were really clever, but then some people will experience it in a completely different way than you do. And you always have to keep in mind that you're not only designing for yourself, you're designing for whatever your target demographic is. That could be like someone who's never touched a video game before, or someone who's super diverse, well played in like all these action sword games.
That's very interesting. Talking about playtesting, finding what works or not. Did you guys have any idea that you put in the game, had it playtest, and unfortunately turned out not to be a great idea?
I wouldn't say particularly. I think smaller stuff like how flashy the game was. Like initially, I remember we had a trail that would follow the player, and like their feet would like glow with magic as they're running. And people are like, this is too much. This is a little too distracting. You gotta tone it down just a bit, because like watching the player, like it's too much happening on my screen at once, and you're like, okay, yeah, maybe gameplay-wise it's not a huge issue, but like just the atmosphere and the vibe the game gives you had to change a little bit.
Yeah, so like in terms of raw gameplay, actual mechanics, almost every mechanic we added into the game, it almost hasn't been changed because it's been implemented pretty well from the start. We haven't had a reason to change anything. The only things we have had to change are, like you can say, simple things like sound effects didn't sound right, or VFX didn't sound right, or maybe an animation just didn't fit the type of movement that we currently had. So it was just tweaking a lot of the assets that were in the game, but not the raw programming mechanics of what we had. That was pretty set in stone.
Okay, so it sounds like you guys had a pretty strong foundation.
Yeah, we did have a
How
pretty strong
did your experience, your previous experience in first and second year sort of help with that?
Yeah, so I guess I'll say my first year and then we can talk about our second year together. In first year we did an extremely low scope game. Like we just did a Space Invader style game, and it wasn't stressful in the slightest because it was just so low scope. And I was the artist for that, and I was with a bunch of people that I am no longer, I haven't been with since second or third year. But honestly, I think it was so low scope that it wasn't too bad to even manage. But our second year game, now that was a fiasco. It was very interesting because it was labeled as a stealth game at first, and then it kind of just didn't turn into a stealth game anymore. Everyone was just so it was a game called Mugshot, and you're a cat in an office, and the whole point is to break all your boss's mugs, sneak around guards, and just it caused, I guess, mayhem. But that wasn't the goal of the game. The goal of the game was to be stealthy and to break everything like stealthily. And I guess a lot of things from game design was cut, and it was a very interesting product.
Oh, I mean, I guess in terms of my experience, I've kind of learned from just experimenting with my designs, and I really enjoy just trying different things. So, for example, my first year, I didn't really fully grasp the idea of scope. I went really big. I was thinking more quantity over quality. And as James would always tell me, that's etched into my head, he would always tell me, temper my expectations. So I took that literally as I continued to design. I would make smaller and smaller. Sometimes you'll experience in your years that synergies with your team might not be great. Sometimes you lose sight of direction of the projects you're working on. So it's all about finding that compromise. And sometimes if you can't find that compromise, you might not be working with the correct people, and that's just a reality, right? It's not personal, it's all just what your interests are. And for me, I found that admittedly I've messed up in areas, and because of the mistakes I've made, I've been able to improve again and again. Even with smaller projects, game jams, bigger games, I've learned to what not to do mostly, and that results in me being able to be like, okay, I understand, I can sympathize with the player, I can see this exact direction of the game and see this is how the game's supposed to feel. This is the part that's like, I use something I like to call my heart monitor design philosophy, where you want to maximize the amount of times the heart monitor goes up and minimize the amount of times it's staying in a straight line. And I understand, okay, how many times can we keep how can we keep that heart monitor rate high? And that's how I kind of learned to approach game design, as well as staying in scope and making things reasonably, because I have an understanding of technically how it works, art how it works, and all that stuff.
For sure. And you make a very good point bringing up team dynamic and making sure you're working with the right people. What works about your current team that lets you make this game so well?
Yeah, so with our team, originally when I made it, because in first year I was with a bunch of people that I didn't know, and then I didn't exactly click with them, but in second year, that's actually where I met Dean and I met Ryan, I met a few people that I kind of clicked with. And then I was like, third year, okay, let's try making a group. So then I invited the people that I was the most comfortable with. And then that ended up working really well because they were also really comfortable with each other. So I basically made a team of people that were already very comfortable with each other's skill sets and knowing the type of person that they were. And because I also decided to take on the project management role, I put a lot of effort and I took it very seriously, and I set up monthly goals, Monday check-ins, scrums, and the development was extremely smooth leading up until milestone 3. And we still have a lot to polish, but the game is in an absolutely phenomenal state for what I think it is right now. So it's just the moral of the story, it was the people I was closest with that I brought together, and then that led to a very smooth development time.
That's really nice. Now, finishing third year and going to fourth year, is there anything that you're excited? You guys want to continue working on this game or tackle a new project?
So, I'll say my case. Say yours after. For me, I'm probably going to try doing maybe a different group. There's a few people in my program that I would like to try working with that I haven't had the opportunity to work with. And I just want to expand in my horizons to see if maybe I can make something great with another set of people and then build up my connections. But the team that I've had this year was absolutely phenomenal. I think we've truly made an amazing game that is genuinely fun. And for fourth year, I'm just looking forward to what's going to happen, to be honest. I want to make a very high quality game, and that's it.
Nice, cool.
I think for me it's a very interesting, more corporate aligned way. So I think, considering I'm at the end of my university career, looking to make a game that pertains directly with the career I want to have, the company I want to work at, the types of games I want to work at, and making a project that's like, hey, I can grow and graduate, say, hey, here's my stealth game. I want to work for your company that makes stealth games, right? So I'm very much very much focusing on my career now and how to most benefit my career, making connections with people that work on the game that I want to work on, and then eventually be like, hey, here's my project I'm in my fourth year, and this is the thing I'm leaving, this is my lasting impact on the program. I want to come work for what you do.
For sure. All right. Well, I think that's about it. Unless you have anything else to say, please.
Not particularly. The game looks really nice. We are excited to see you guys at GameCon. Thank you so much for coming and taking the time to answer our questions.
Absolutely,
All right,
guys.
thank
And
you.
Make sure to check out Steel Farmer's game. Try Soul Chamber at GameCon.
April 10th.
April 10th. See ya.
This is the team right now. It's me, Lucas, and
Owen.
Owen. Well, yes. Introduction. And this is the VHS moment of GameCon. There we go.
We're rolling now? Alright. Well, welcome to GameCon. We gotta remember this. It's so bad. Bad is
No, it's okay. That's the idea. It's supposed to be funny.
I'm not good at this. Rolling. This is an amazing day. I love coming to GameCon. I love seeing all the amazing projects. Over there, it's amazing to see the first years come out and showcase their games. It's amazing to see how the first years evolved the next year at GameCon. You know, seeing the 4 years, the full culmination of what work they've done across those 4 years of schooling here. It's just really awesome to see everything.
Recording.
Right. Hello everyone, my name's Aiden and I'm a 3rd year currently at our annual GameCon at the end of April. So currently what you're seeing right here now is this side is a lot of 4th years, this side is 3rd years, and yeah, at the end of April we basically spend a long time making a game and we show it off to the public. So this is the GDSA table, and you know, basically what we do is we help make sure that everyone's comfortable and that GameCon feels smooth. And so far, we're about 5 to 6 hours into it, and things are going very smoothly right now. So, what's up, gamers?
So this here is 410 Authority Gone, the hit new game by us, and it's a cool game because you play it, and the main goal is to just go as fast as you can. I'm not going that fast, but like, you know, it's a speedrunning type game. You play it, you blast through levels. You go like, wow, look at those guys. They're exploding so hard, and look at that. They are dying. They are getting ready to go to the board. And this game, it was a fun game to make. It took a hot second getting the controls to feel just right. And overall, I'm happy with the result. Except for this parry. The parrying's a bit tight, I will admit that.
Nice. Well, that's really cool.
Yeah, no, overall, I would say it's a fun game. And just one quick thing, if you go to the leaderboards, you gotta remember, this could be you. This could be your score. If you're good at video games. So remember that.
Welcome one and all to the Mage's Labyrinth, a place of perils and dangers, of treasures and power. Venture into the dungeons of the long forgotten past, left behind by a wicked and mighty mage. Conquer it and claim within it the treasures and the power. Or become yet another fool who fell to its might.
Hello, we're corrupted sticks of the 4th year, not 4th, 3rd year. I'm putting on the spot. We're 3rd year, corrupted sticks, and we made same day shipping. A kind of piratey game where you're on the seas trying to ship stuff from one destination to the other instead of steal it. You're basically a pirate postman.
This is our game, Shooty Shooty. Essentially, we've been kind of making this over the course of the semester. It's been a little bit rough over time, but we got it done. We've been getting some good feedback here at GameCon, and we're excited for next year.
Hell yeah, thank you so much.
Alright, and recording.
Hello, I am Adam, sound dude from Gold Band Studios, and we made a Fool's Rain. Look at this game, insane game. Look at this.
It looks pretty beautiful.
I know.
Also, look at this sign they did. That thing is amazing. Let's have a look. So cool.
Yeah. Want to know what's cool about this game? We also got gambling. Who doesn't like gambling, bro? Come on, man. And then, so day-night cycle, of course. Combat, of course. Objectives, of course. We got everything, bro. This is a nice game. Gold Band Studios. You can search our game on itch. It's gonna be there, and eventually Steam as well. Hey.
We're Occupational Hazards. As you can see, it's a horror-themed space game that is PC, Steam Deck, and VR. Basically, you are a crewmate. You get sent up into a spaceship to figure out where your past crew has gone, and why the ship went offline. I'm grateful. I'm the environmental artist.
I'm David. I did the programming, sound design, UI animator, importer.
And how's GameCon going for you guys?
I'm great. Pretty good.
We had a casualty on Morat.
Our Mora, if you go into the other side.
We kind of had a little accident.
No.
Yeah.
So sad, and that's why we have this whole like setup here. So if he falls and cushions the fall.
That's pretty funny.
We're expecting him to fall again at some point. But setting everything up was kind of fun.
We've had a lot of. I was not expecting for it up here to be as busy as it has been, but like we've had a lot of people coming, which is amazing to see.
It's been almost like busy the whole time.
Yeah.
This is the only time we've actually had downtime.
This is exactly, which is really really nice.
So that's pretty cool. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
He has no idea what's about to happen to him. This is Clown Cork, and our game is workplace compensation. Guys, come on, get in the frame.
All right.
How do we do it?
Workplace compensation. Hello. Oh man.
We're at
That's why they don't
GameCon.
keep me in the frame.
We're at GameCon right now, and we are here. We're having a great time showing people everything that we've made. We've got our artists here. We've got Isis and Ahmed. We've got Jeff here as our programmer. Ishad as our programmer too over on the left side. We've got here's our sound guy, and Tyler, who isn't here but did our VFX. And I mean, hey, this is gonna be a memory. We're probably gonna think this is really corny and cringy, and like I don't know, however long it takes us to be made. But hey, we're having fun. This is good. It's our last game. Amen.
Yeah, all right, we're graduating soon. All of us are leaving, but it's been very fun, and we'll see when we see this video. Who knows? Maybe half of the team will be dead when we see this.
Let's hope not.
R.I.P. to them.
Sub chat, first year games over here. A lot of cool new games. You guys should check it out.
Hey, I'm Gelato, this is Gustavo, and this is the Treasure of El Dorado. It's our game. It's a little slimy puzzle game where you play as a slime guy doing puzzle things.
And you gotta avoid these monsters that come after you during the puzzles, and that's sort of the unique mechanic of the game, where you have to multitask between doing puzzles and avoiding like constant threats.
Having to juggle the two different types of gameplay, right? In this demo, it's a lot more puzzle focused, and for the puzzles, we're just taking simple ideas, right? Like pushing a lock, flipping a lever, stuff that a toddler could figure out. Because admittedly, that's the amount of intelligence I had that playtest.
Because the slime is really pathetic. I mean, he can't do anything. Like, he can't fight. He can only really push blocks. That's the most he can really do.
He's just a little guy looking for his hat.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, I love him so much. He may be stupid, but he makes up for the lack of brain with
So this is our game, Ozone. It's a 2D puzzle platform where you are John the survivor, trapped inside this abandoned facility that you appeared in, or you woke up in, after the apocalypse happened. The ozone layer degraded and humanity fled underground, so now you are alone. And you have to explore this facility and escape it. So,
That's pretty cool. How is GameCon going for you?
It's been fun, honestly. I've seen a lot of really cool games. I checked out all but one of the first year games so far, and a couple of the third years, and they've been really cool. I'm really impressed with all the work that everyone's done.
That's really nice. Thank you so much. Just speak loudly.
My name's Tyler, Clown Corp. We're upstairs, but I'm downstairs right now, marking all the first years. TA for programming. GameCon. I mean, it's the sickest event of the school year, you know what I mean? We got so many games across all 4 years, so much talent from this university, all showing off all their different games. Definitely come check it out in future years, for sure. Love it. It's been a blast. The event's been a blast. Working on the projects all year's been a blast. You know, meeting new friends along the way. Just all the late nights. Yeah, fun time.
Vlog protocol. The game was very fun to make. It's a word puzzle game where you unredact words and documents using context clues and photo evidence. It's super fun. You're given a big philosophical choice at the end, and you gotta make it. We had to rewrite the game like a lot of times. Yeah, it's very far from what we originally had conceptualized. But it is a journey. It's been a great exercise in like every aspect.
I'm pretty happy with it. Turned out really how it turned out.
Yes. W.
Looking at
good old Keanu the platypus. You got the tail right here. Hard to see, but you know, it's whatever. But this is Platypus. We have a 3D multiplayer game that can connect up to 4 players. We have just 2 laptops right now set up, but that's fine.
Don't worry.
Platypus real quick.
Also, how's GameCon going for you guys?
GameCon for us, when we're upstairs, we have some decent traffic. Got a lot of people. We've been keeping track of how many people kind of coming by, but also kind of high-fiving good old Keanu. I want... Actually, Carter, how much is on there again? 70, 72? 72 people have showed up as high-five Keanu and also played our game, so that's pretty damn good traffic, I'll say that. So we've had a good time just talking to people. We talked to at least one Ubisoft dev, giving some pointers on multiplayer. If we wanted to go back and play multiplayer games, we now have some, I guess, tips and tricks, I guess, or some just like general advice to kind of help us make the games better if we wanted to go back to multiplayer.
Today here we got Windweaver by Ace, We made a parkour movement shooter game, but you don't care about that. You're just here to see the full visual. I'm playing. The gameplay is pretty fun too. We got some fun rice hats. Lucas not wearing his, but we got a second one back there. We got a bit of a leaderboard here. And some fun stickers.
Yay, thank you so much.
Play it now. Science building. Go. Independent data.
It'll still be here when they watch.
Recording.
Bat Buddies are party couch party game where you can beat the hell out of your friend. There's plenty of items and stages for you to have a great time playing with anybody. Really.
Yeah, have you been enjoying GameCon?
I have been enjoying GameCon. It's been, honestly, it's been splendid. I got to see a couple of my friends, stuff like that. They got to play my game.
That's pretty cool.
It's all good,
Thank you so much.
It's all good having fun.
Hey, respect, we're Seraph Studios, and this is our game, Vector of Fear.
There's nothing on the TV.
Give it a second, give it a second, give it a second, give it a second, give it a second. Give it.
Hey, let's go.
The gameplay is pretty simple. You're in the middle of space on a spaceship. There's an evil robot, that guy. He's chasing you down. You're trying to repair generators, and you're trying to That's why every game he's trying to get you and kill you.
That's pretty dope. How is GameCon going for you guys?
Pretty good.
Good actually. You're getting good. GameCon's awesome. There's so many cool games, and I haven't even left this building yet.
Alright,
Hi, this is Slice of Life Studio, and our game is an action-adventure game starring a ninja who has to fight through a bunch of evil yokais and save the land.
That's really cool. How is GameCon going for you guys?
So far it's going swell. We're going around collecting stamps, helping people collect their stamps. We're handing out a bunch of stickers, keychains, and just enjoying our time around here.
Thank you so much. Have a good GameCon.
Oh, the one and only 24 carats temporal boo-boo.
Had a lot of fun with this game. I've had a lot of fun with a lot of the games I'm playing at GameCon. In Ontario Tech students are racing the bar every year, and this is just one of the examples. This one's a solo developer who did the music, the sound effects, the art, and the game's really fun. It's really well balanced, and it's really fully featured.
Hell yeah.
I'm having a lot of fun with it.